In today's episode, we review our plays of The King is Dead, Beyond the Sun, and Vindication. Stick around for the chat where we talk about other games we've played and gaming-adjacent topics.
You're listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
All right, so I wanted to lead us off and talk about our recent play of The King is Dead.
Yep.
Now, this is the second edition. I've never heard of the game before. I don't remember anything about a first edition.
Yeah, I don't think I'd heard about it until the second edition came out.
Yeah, same here.
Piers Sylvester is the designer, published by Osprey Games. The first time I saw it was on, no pun intended.
Intended, yeah.
Same for me.
Yep, it was their, I think, 2020 Game of the Year is what they called it, if I remember correctly.
I don't know if it was their game of the year, but they were. Oh,
it was one of two.
It was a glowing.
It was King's Dilemma.
Two. Correct.
King's Dilemma and The King is Dead.
Ah, all right.
Yes.
King Games.
That's the first time that I've heard of it, and I had no interest really. Nothing piqued my interest at the time, but
it had cubes.
It yes,
I saw the cubes. Yeah,
it may have piqued your interest, Robert.
Yeah, got my attention.
But what got my attention was when y'all had played it. I think Michael, you had it, and
yes. That's
when I found out it came from Osprey Games, and it was based on history.
Ooh,
right. And I guess I kept thinking of King's Dilemma whenever I thought of The King is Dead. So I was crossing those two in my head, but I got piqued, and I'm glad.
Yeah, very different games, yeah.
Michael had it. I ended up picking up a copy of it, and we got to play it at a recent game day. It's a card game. It's a 2020 published of a reprint of The King is Dead, and it's a card game. It's real small. The footprint is small, but it's all about controlling the United Kingdom area, right? Back then it wasn't the UK, but
right. It does have a board, though.
There is a board.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
And your goal is to not control the regions in that United Kingdom area, Ireland or Scotland and England, Essex, all these different regions of the English nation, right? Your goal isn't to control or to battle over it. Your goal is to have influence in different regions,
right,
when they score for their influence. So there's going to be 8 rounds in this game, and each region is going to score one time during the game,
right,
for influence. 3 different colors, red, yellow, and blue, and each one represents a different faction that's trying to control, and I believe it's, help me out here,
Scottish,
gentlemen.
Welsh, and English.
Scottish, Welsh, and English influence. And the goal is to have influence cubes in front of you, matching the region that is scoring at that time, having the most influence.
Or the most at the end of the game, yeah.
Or by the end of the game.
Right at the end of the game, yeah.
When they score. When they score, you're looking to have cubes in front of you, because you're going to have one score in round 1.
Well, when they score, having the cubes in front of you does nothing. The cubes only help you. It's the in-game scoring. So having
it's the cubes in the region that are going to dictate when there's the power struggle or whatever they call it. That's going to dictate who ends up controlling that region
for the rest of the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
So those cubes in that region are going to score, and that influence marker will go down. That control marker will go down on that region.
Right.
And that region will be controlled by either
that color,
the color, which is English, Scottish, and Welsh.
Yep.
And your goal is to have influence in one of those 3 factions at the end of the game that has the most control markers on the board.
Right.
That's how you win.
Right.
Or
there's the old French thing. Yeah.
The other way to win is through a series of bad events where a region has a tie or no cubes in it of influence when it goes to score. So when it goes to go for control, it has a tie or no cubes. This means that the French invade or take control of that region with a black disc. If ever 3 regions in this game, remember there's 8 rounds, end with a black cube on it with the French controlling it, then the game ends immediately.
Right.
And the French have won. The question is, which of us has the most influence
in sets?
Who has the most sets of colors?
of all, because now you want everybody's influence. You want influence from all different English, Welsh, and Scottish. You want all there, so you want to balance that by having sets of those 3 colors.
Right.
And whoever did that the best for at the time that the French invade, when they get their 3rd control marker, then you become the winner.
Yeah.
So it's about as good as a description I can get.
It's kind of hard to describe.
Goal.
It's a tricky game.
It is.
It's the way the mechanics work is different than a lot of other games we played. So
There's not a lot in the rules either. The rule set is not difficult to learn.
Right.
The game itself is super simple, I would say, in how to play, because you're only playing 8 turns. And the cool part
you only
is
have 8 actions.
8
that
actions,
You can
yeah.
do.
there are 8
Total.
turns. There are always 8 turns. You have 8 actions. You got to decide which turns to use them in.
yeah, kind of. I guess using the word turns is different.
Actions. We
Yeah,
call them
yeah,
actions.
actions, yeah,
Because you got
actions.
a card that you can play as an action.
Right. So there's going to be 8 scoring rounds. So maybe call them rounds, and you can pass in certain rounds. You can pass over and over and over again, and you don't have to play a card. And that means in the next round you may have an extra card to play, and you could get to the end of the game. That was the strategy that I kind of took on, is that I would sit back a lot of times and pressure other people into stopping something from happening. And even if I didn't want something to happen, with 4 of us playing, or the second time we played it was 3 of us playing, I felt pretty confident. I could probably pass this time because I know Mike really doesn't want that to happen. And even though I don't want it to happen, I'm going to make him play a card. I'm going to hold my cards. And in both of the games, when we got close to the end of the game, I think I had more cards than everybody. The second time we played, y'all did a better job of balancing me out. But at the end of the game, I had more actions because I had passed earlier in the rounds, and when we scored those last few, I had more cards to put down to swing the influence one way or another. So that's an interesting aspect of the game.
To me, the most interesting aspect is that there's going to be 8 rounds, and you have 8 actions available to you the entire game.
Yep.
8 cards that you can play
Yep.
in the entire game, and you have to decide when to play them.
Yep.
And these are the games that I struggle with because of understanding the value of a card
Yeah.
in the time arc of that game, right? The conflict arc of that game. When is the best time to play that card? Because each of the cards that you have in your hand, and we all have identical cards in the basic standard game. All 8 of our cards are all the same. All the players have the same 8 cards. But you're going to play cards that do things like move Welsh cubes in or move English cubes in, right? We each going to have a card that moves Scottish cubes in.
Or swap cubes from one area to another area. Yeah.
Cards that swap cubes. And then even crazier, you're going to have cards that swap which regions will score when they score.
What
Because we're
order?
going to randomize the order of the 8 regions scoring, and we each have access to one card that allows us to swap any 2
I
of
think
those
there's-
regions.
I think there's more regions than 8, though. I'm just clarifying. That's all.
Is
I
it-
think there's 12.
12
Is it
regions?
12? Okay. Yeah.
Is there
How many
12?
times are we scoring? Control.
I don't
Well,
remember.
see, and again, I think the actions, and there's really not scoring. It's when we all pass. When everybody passes for one round, that's when the power struggle takes place. And that's when you determine when a region is taking control, depending on how many cubes of what color are in that region.
Actually, it is 8 regions. Just it's 4 and 4.
Oh, it is 8?
Yep, it is 8. I'm looking
Oh,
at the board.
okay, all right.
Yep,
Well,
yep.
France makes it 9.
Yep, 8.
So-
France is a 9 down in the corner.
You're not
You don't
wholly
have a
wrong.
card, though, in the game. Yeah. Okay,
France
all
is
right,
in the
well,
corner
thank-
with their
thank
little
you for the
black cubes
clarification.
or the black disc. So yeah, each region will score each, and that's why I call them rounds, because each region scores and ends that round. And then we go to the next round where we know this next region is going to score.
Right.
So here's a
Correct.
region that's scheduled to score right now. You know, it could be Devon, right? Devon might be scoring, or Essex might be scoring. But maybe I want, I don't know, Moray to score right now because Moray has the right combination of influence cubes.
Yep.
Right. So I can play my one-time card, which I did early game, real early,
Real early, yeah.
to set one region to score right now.
Yeah. And that's always a fun thing to see. At both games we played, there was an unexpected point where I think I did it in one game, and then somebody else did it in the other game we played. That a couple people are fighting back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for control of one area, and then right when it seems like it's kind of set, and the one person's going to have to give up, and they're not going to have the influence go the way they want to, then a third party jumps in and plays that switcheroo card. It's like, no, there's one down here that I like better, and I'm going to move that up and make that score now. And it's like,
then you can lock it in place.
Yeah, the other people just kind of sit there and they're like, hold on, I just spent all my cards battling back and forth between these two, and now you want me to spend cards to go score that other area that I wasn't ready for. So that's always fun to watch.
But knowing that threat is there, to me, which just makes it so juicy.
Yeah.
Like knowing who's holding that card still.
Yeah.
And makes you have to hedge, right? You can't go all in anything. You got to hedge yourself on where you're going. I don't know. And folks, listen, I'm struggling to explain this game.
Yeah.
Not because it's a difficult game, for Pete's sake.
I know how
please.
to play the game, and I'm still confused by how you describe it.
A little bit.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
It was pretty good. But, yeah.
It's the depth of the game that stuns me.
Yeah.
The rule
for
set,
such a little game. Yeah.
the rule set is so tight, so simple.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The actions available to you, so easy, so simple. Swap here,
Very
move there.
straightforward. Yeah.
The strategy
And then-
is beyond deep.
Right. You had the strategy also is like, because every action that you take, you have to pull a cube off of the map from somewhere.
Right. That's another big part
So
of it.
if you're trying to gain that color in your court, that's where the area in front of you, like your cubes, you are creating less of a percentage of that color on the board.
Right.
So it's harder for them to gain control for the next power struggle.
Mhm.
So that's like, to me, that's the one mechanic I keep thinking of, is like, you have to take a cube, but if you take too many,
Yep.
that there's no way that they're going to win if you keep pulling that particular color off the board.
Yeah.
So
And there's that interesting part that you can't go too heavy into one color too early, because if you do, then everybody sees, he's going big on yellow. We're only a third of the way into the game. Now I can influence the whole rest of this game that yellow's not going to win any more areas, and he's going to have all those yellow cubes, and what good are they? So it's funny watching everybody hedges their bets. Everybody usually takes 2 of one color, and then 2 of another color, and then 2 of another color, and then like, all right, I'm at 2, 2, and 2, and I'm going to wait till the end to make my run for it and announce what I'm going for. So yeah, it's funny. Everybody's kind of just waiting for everybody else to take all their actions and run out of cards. So yeah.
What you can't do is allow someone to sit back,
Yeah.
right? You can't have any Game of Thrones wise Littlefingers,
Oh yeah.
right? The character Littlefinger laying back there and just kind of watching and waiting to figure out when to insert their power. You kind of have to draw them in early. I think, Rob, we did that better in the second game.
Yeah.
Rob, you mentioned it.
Yeah.
Of making you have to play some cards when you didn't want to.
Yeah, the first game when we got to the end, I think I had 5 or 6 cards still in my hand, and everybody else was down to just 2 or 3. And so
That's when you got to the last round, right?
Yeah, and those last 2 or 3 scorings, I had all the influence and I had all the control. So that was a nice feeling, knowing that we were still had a couple of scorings to go, and I was pretty sure I was going to wrap that one up. Second time we played, again, it was a lot more balanced. I had to play some cards earlier to make some things happen, and I squeaked out the win in the second one. So I got 2 wins there. So I'm retiring 100%, 2-0, but undefeated. Yeah, undefeated. But it was a good experience both times. It's a little nerve wracking a little bit. You're a little nervous as you're again trying to decide that right time to make your mark and say, hey, I'm going blue. That's it, blue. This is what's happening. So
And I did that. I think I just laid out my cards too early, and y'all saw that, and I struggled to get back. And that feeling of having, shot your wad, right? That's what they like. All your ammo's gone.
yeah,
You have nothing left to fire with. No defense, and you're
the
just
rest of
going for the
war is
ride.
still going on.
Right, you're just
kinda
going
watching.
for the ride.
Yeah, just watching what happens. Yep.
I like at the end with the scoring, where it brings the disc based on control markers in a 1, 2, and 3 rank.
Yeah.
Because it seems as though the ability to tie with others for influence is easy. So you look at your first region that has, or your first faction, right? English, Welsh, or Scottish, that has the most control markers on the board. And if everyone's if the players are tied there, then you go to
2
the
or more,
second
right.
one.
Yep.
And then the players are tied there. You go to the third faction to determine. So it has a good tiebreaker mechanism.
But also the tiebreaker that I like is if it gets to the third one and you're still tied, then it's whoever won the last region.
Most recent
whatever,
battle. Yeah.
Right.
Power
Whoever
for
won
control.
the last region, then that determines who the winner is.
Right.
So it puts an onus on making sure you're winning towards the end.
Or you have the cubes of the right color of whatever color won toward the end, or it's just layer upon layer. It's like an onion.
Yeah.
Parfait.
Donkey. Got onions. Layers.
I don't know. Strategy wise, some of my thoughts on that are I want to know what would happen if I just pass, and let the board develop for 4 or so rounds, and then figure out how to use those cards.
Yeah. Have to play it again.
What are the cons of doing that versus playing heavy-handed early? I'm curious.
My guess is there needs to be some kind of balance. I haven't tried that strategy yet, so that would be interesting to see. But I would assume you have to be somewhere in the middle. There's going to be certain points. You got to be able to identify the important points during the game, and then play those cards during those important points, and then let some of the not so important ones go. And again, reading people I think is important. That was something, like I say, that I was really trying to do. I was looking at it, and people knew the second time we played that I went kind of blue early, and so people kept expecting me to push blue. And so if yellow was about to win one, sometimes people would pass to me thinking, all right, he's going to jump in because he needs to make blue happen. I was like, no, I'll go ahead and pass. And then that put the pressure on the next person on me. They're like, oh, okay, well, I didn't think he was going to do that, but maybe I want the blue to happen now or something. So watching people have to make those decisions on, ooh, what is he really shooting for here? So
And having that finite number of actions, 8, that's all you get.
yeah.
And you play 2 in one round, you know that there's going to be a round you won't be able to be a part of.
Yep.
Right. And how the cubes come out on the board when you're setting up. Everything is random.
random,
It's
yeah.
never going to be the same 2 games in a row.
Yep.
And the way that the region score is random as well, every game. So
The order that they go for control.
Yeah.
Right.
But what are your thoughts on the 3-player versus the 4-player, right? Because in the rulebook, the 4-player says to play in teams. And I'm super excited about that.
I know Mike wasn't excited about that idea.
I don't. I mean, maybe I need to play it to give it an honest go, but initially my thoughts are not positive on something like that.
My thoughts, I think, are instantly positive because growing up playing Puerto Rican dominoes as a kid, growing up playing games like Brisca, which is a pairs trick-taking game, those are the games that I grew up on. The feels of I'm playing with a partner, but I cannot communicate with that partner what I'm strong in or what my intentions are, and we have to somehow subtly give each other those clues. It just reminds me of my childhood playing dominoes with my grandmother, where she would play a domino with a certain finger, and I knew what that meant. When she lays it with that middle finger, I know it means this, and I need to play this in response to that when it's my turn. That subtlety, I think I'm looking forward to playing that in The King is Dead.
Yeah, I definitely fall somewhere in the middle. I think I lean a little more towards Mike. I like to have a little more control of what I'm doing. Although I was just thinking I do like games like The Crew, and I wonder if that's just because it's completely co-op. All of us are working to beat the game, and I think that's interesting. And then I think of a game like 878 Vikings that... I don't know. There's times that I like sharing strategy with somebody else and getting some suggestions and hashing out ideas. But in that one, you can talk pretty openly.
You're fully open in 878 Vikings.
Yeah, in 878
you
Vikings.
can show each other cards. You can have full conversations. Right. You're sharing pieces.
Yeah, I think on this kind of thing where I could misinterpret what my partner's trying to do, or we could step on each other's toes. I don't know that I love that idea. So I like open communication on that 2-on-2. But in this game, you would give away way too much if you were able or wanted to talk openly. You'd give away your whole strategy to the other team. So I don't know.
Now the goal of the game is to have one of the players come out as the winner.
Right.
If one of the players comes out as the winner, then you both win. Mm-hmm. So you still have total control of your pieces, and you could even play it as a 1v3 game.
Yeah. You just wouldn't want to be counteracting what your partner is trying to do because you don't want to step on each other. So, I see what you're saying, that you still have your control of your own stuff. But, I mean, if your partner's thinking red and you're thinking blue, then, you could be hurting each other by going back and forth on something. Although hopefully you'd pick up on that pretty quick. So,
or we can do like racing, right? I think endurance racing does this. I think bike racing does this. There's always what they call the hare or the rabbit.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
The one that goes out early and goes hard,
The rabbit, yeah.
right, and gets others to chase him in order to expend energy, while the other player plays more of a steady game and secures the win.
Yeah.
Right, I could be your rabbit, Robert.
Oh yeah, might be.
I can go out there and do crazy stuff and like make Mike and his partner try to stop me.
Are we talking about Flamme Rouge now, or did I lose
I
it in the
don't
transition
know.
there?
Fox and the
Layers.
Hound.
Got layers, yeah, onions.
But that's what I'm seeing. The King is Dead has layers.
Yeah.
Lots of layers. I'm excited about this one. I recommend you check it out.
Yeah.
You'll hear us play more of this because of its size.
Yep.
The King is Dead has a small package.
Speed.
It's quick. Low amount of cards.
Yeah.
Plays
It's not a long
fast.
game.
Yeah, it's quick. It's 30, 45 minutes at the most, yeah.
Yeah, this one's going to get to the table a lot more. The King is Dead.
Okay, well, I want to talk about a game that I had played once before. A couple of months ago, I got a chance to play it at one of our Saturday game days, and I know Carlos had been wanting to play this one for a while, and we had a little get-together at Carlos's place this last Monday for my birthday. We just had a few people over, and we did gaming. We started about 8 a.m. and played all day till 9 or 10 p.m., so we went over 12 hours. It was a good time. We got in a handful of games, but one game that I got a chance to play for a second time, and I was really looking forward to a second bite at this apple. It was Beyond the Sun. And that's a game that I had heard a lot about. Let me just real quick here. It came out in 2020, so it's about a year old now, I guess. BGG rankings an 8.0, overall ranking 278, strategy 139, designer Dennis Chan, and it's Rio Grande Games, at least here in the States. It says 2 to 4 players, 60 to 120 minutes, and it's they've got it weighted as a 3.11, which is a little bit on the heavy side. But I know this is a game, again, that you'd want to people call this Tech Tree the Game, is what you keep hearing people call it. Although there is a little sideboard, and I think that's what had Carlos really excited, was he had seen pictures and things of this little sideboard where there was a little space exploration, area control. It's not combat, really, but you can do some things
close.
to mess with your opponents. And
Combat-ish.
yeah, to knock them out areas and do different things. But the main part of the game is this big tech tree, the big board that's in the middle of the table is a tech tree, and so it's got a action selection. We called it worker placement a couple times, but it's not really worker placement. It's an action selection, and as you play the game, you open up more places you can go to do actions, but all the actions are unique. It reminds me a little bit of Dominant Species, where you kind of place on these different little hexes, and you can pick your piece up and move it to a different one, and you can block people from going to different areas. But in any case, the main board of the game, I can't say the main part of the game, because I think you could play and do well in the game by doing the little space board on the side, or you could do well by focusing on the main board on the tech tree. Although the 2 times I've played it, the tech tree seems to be where people have won, is they've got most of the points. I think that's probably was the point of the game. But in any case, you're developing this tech tree, so you're taking these actions to be able to place your worker in areas to discover new technologies. And there's 4 technologies. You might have to help me remember. There's combat. There's
military.
There's a military track. There's 4 different colors, and actually, I might be able to look it up on the BGG. But in any case, as you go along the tree branches, so like there's one of each of the specialties, one of each of the colors at the first stations that you can go to. As you take those actions, you can start developing level 2 technologies once you get the right resources. It's I think ore is that you get in the game, and you can cash in the ore to then follow a path after you've developed a level 1 technology, which is just placing a little person on, a little worker on it. You can follow that path of the tree to a level 2 technology. And a lot of times there's these branches or these convergences of the tech tree where I might have to have like a red or a blue technology from level 1, and they converge to a spot on a level 2. And then as I'm playing, you draw cards, so I would draw cards off the top of the level 2 deck until I get 2 cards of that technology. And if I've researched a red and a blue, then I draw until I get 2 total, either 2 reds, 2 blues, or 1 of each. And one of the interesting parts of the game is when you get 1 of each, you get to look at the 2 cards, and you decide which card goes into the game, and then you take the other card, and it's not out of the game, but it goes to the bottom of the deck. So you're probably not going to see it again. But you kind of have a little bit of, I guess, thematic there that you can push the game a little more towards to the red side, which is the war or the military side of things, or you can push it a little more towards the blue. As far as what they do in the game, they, I guess, influence a little bit what goes on that sideboard. And I know, Carlos, you mentioned several times that you were a little disappointed that what you're doing on the main board doesn't really affect much of what you're doing on that little sideboard, the little exploration. The little sideboard, you've got some space stations that you can build ships at. You basically just take dice. The dice are little six-sided dice, and they have different sides on them. I think 4 of the sides are spaceships. It's a level 1, 2, 3, or 4, and that's basically their strength or their influence on that little sideboard. One side is just, we call them the toasters. They'll be forever known in our group as the toasters. They look like little pictures of toasters. But
the supply crate.
The supply crates, yep.
They look like toasters.
Little toasters. And then the other side is just, I think, a worker. You can make it a worker. So these dice, as you do things in the game, you take these supply crates and you either turn them into workers or you turn them into ships. And the workers can go out and do the tech tree stuff for the most part. The ships go on this little sideboard.
And do the exploration of the galaxy stuff.
Right.
Colonizing planet stuff.
Right. There's little planet cards over there that come out. They get claimed and then refreshed, but you have to reach a certain power threshold on there to be able to claim it, to colonize it, and then it comes off and goes into your little tableau to give you sometimes it's ongoing abilities, sometimes it's a one-time ability when you take it, but they give you victory points at the end of the game. But the focus of the game, and what I always heard again, as I mentioned, that people call it tech tree, the game. The real part of the game is that big tech tree. And I know you were disappointed once you actually saw it about how, I don't know if we call it ugly, how uninspired maybe the design was. I mean, it really looks like just a big tech tree. It's a big board with lines on it, and then just spaces to put cards. I mean, there really is no...
And it's not even just the tech tree, Robert.
Yeah.
The cards themselves.
Yeah, they're very plain.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not opposed to minimalist stylistic
Yeah, there you go.
approaches
That was
to
easy
gaming.
for you to say.
Easy for him to say.
English not my first language.
Yep.
Trademarked. Beans and dice. I mean, Smartphone Inc.
Yeah,
Minimalist style, white.
you're right.
Right?
Yep.
But it looks great.
Yeah.
I just don't see here the hit off.
Yeah,
But that style.
Right.
Keep talking about the tech tree.
Well, yeah. So I was going to say, well, it comes down to mechanics, and as anybody who's listened to the show or knows you or I very well, they know we have differing opinions on that. Your theme gets you a long way in games. I could do without the theme 90% of the time. If the mechanics are solid and strong, that's what I'm there for. I'm there to play the game. There's some theme. It's always been a joke that get your theme out of my games. As a lot of people have quoted me as saying that, which is
Trademark.
yeah,
Beans and dice.
Beans and dice. There you go. It's another little funny thing, but again, I always start with mechanics. I throw the theme on afterwards once I learn the game, once I know how it works. Theme can dress it up and make it nice, but it really is about the mechanics in this game. I think it's really about moving along that tech tree. There is some luck involved in how the cards come out and how you draw different things, although you get a one-time bonus as you move up the tech trees. There's 4 levels. Level 1 is set in. They're just 4 basic cards that always start the same, but as you go to level 2, 3, and 4, you're drawing out of this deck, and each one of those levels they have, as you get to the first person to research at each of those levels, gets a one-time bonus. There's a little card, you flip it over, and it gives you just some kind of little boost. You might get a few extra ore, you might get to do one extra action or something. But again,
So the first person to reach that new technology gets a bonus.
Yep.
And then they get to draw a couple cards from the deck
Right.
for that level of technology, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then they get to choose what technology goes down there,
Those 2, they choose one. Yep.
which is one of the 4 different types, which is I think is like military, commerce, culture, and like research or something.
Something like that. Sounds about right. Yeah.
It's kind of how they're stylized.
Yeah. And again, that's a big part of it. And I know you had said, again, kind of getting back to it, that sideboard, you were hoping that what you did on the main board affected the sideboard, but it doesn't so much. There's some basic actions that you can do on the main board, and you find you're doing those a lot of times to influence that sideboard. Some of the technologies, as you get to them, will make some of those actions a little cheaper, a little better. And then most of those, pretty much all of actually as you go along the tech tree, every spot you open up there opens up a new place where you can place the worker to do something, but a lot of times it's just either a more efficient version of something that you could do for more expensive on the basic one, or there's a few of them that dress it up and do some new things. But I've played it twice now. As I mentioned, I played it at the game day a couple of months ago, and I'll say that when I played it the first time, it was all the rage. It was everybody. It may have been a little more than 2 months ago, but it was what everybody was talking about on the internet. I was seeing a lot about it. I was seeing all positive reviews, people giving it 8s and 9s. There were a lot of people in 2020 who had it on their top 10 games of the year, and so I was very excited to play it. And when I played it that first time, I will say that I won. Sometimes people accuse me of judging how much I like a game, sometimes based on whether I win or lose. But I won actually pretty comfortably in that first game, playing against 3 people who had played it before. And I came away from it a little bit. They kept asking me, "How'd you like it? How'd you like it? Are you going to go buy it?" And I was like, "Oh, well, because I think I had talked it up before. I was like, I've been dying to play this game. I've been looking it up. I'm trying to find a copy. I want to pick it up." And then after that first experience, I was like, "Oh, well, I liked it. It was good." But now I'm not so convinced that I need to own it. It was kind of like I've played it, and I kind of walked away a little bit stunned, I guess. I didn't really know what to think after that first play. And then I immediately, a few days later, I was like, I want to play that again. Maybe I missed a little something. Maybe there's just something I didn't quite grab onto, even though I just seemed to do well. And I won pretty comfortably in that first game. And then when we played it again this time, and I know it was your comment immediately after we were done, you're like, "I'm glad I played this. I don't think I need to own it, but I'm glad I played it just to have the experience." And after I played it twice now, I think I kind of have that same opinion. I feel like hearing all the hype about it, I was convinced I needed it. I was convinced it was right up my alley. It was strong on the mechanics, which is what I love, and it is. But there was
Beyond the Sun is strong in mechanics.
Yeah, in mechanics.
Right.
Not on
There
the
are strong mechanics there.
yeah. And I think the
Mechanisms.
Yeah, the mechanisms, right. And
they're there.
Yeah. But I think I agree that this is a game that I'm glad I played. I would probably play it pretty much any time somebody pulled it out and wanted to play it. But I don't think that would be, let's just say you owned a copy and you've got a couple hundred games here. I don't think it would be in the top 20, 25, 30 games that I would ask to pull off your shelf. Again, if you were having a game night and you pulled it out and wanted to play it, I'd play it. But I definitely don't think I need to own it. And I played it twice. I think I might be good. Yeah.
Michael, have you played it?
I have not, and I think I'm along the same lines as you guys, where I heard the hype. I watched reviews. It seemed like something that I would be interested in, but it doesn't have to be flashy for me to like it. It definitely, if it was more flashy, or if I see a game that's typically flashy, I will be drawn to it initially. But it's still something that I feel I want to play just to experience it. And who knows? I mean, I may end up loving it, but and I know you two guys seem to be on the same page for the most part, but and I think I'd still like to play it.
I think I would recommend it. I was going to say I don't want to poo-poo it for anybody else out there, because again, obviously there's something that people really, really liked, and like I say, it showed up on a lot of the people that I watch on the internet on their top 10 lists for 2020. I mean, it was on list after list after list, and it may have had something to do with it. I think it did come out fairly late in 2020. It was hard to get copies of it, so I think there was probably some hype around it for that, because
it's still fresh on their minds.
Exactly, but I don't think it would be in my top 10 of 2020. So. But I would recommend that people play it, because it's again, it does a thing. It's a little unique. I don't think I've ever seen
it is unique.
I don't see a tech tree like that before in a game. So
yeah. I kind of feel like it was Chick-fil-A on a Sunday.
Okay,
it's like I wanted it because I couldn't find it.
Yeah,
and I couldn't have it.
I agree.
Right? Like,
that is a great analogy.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A
on a Sunday.
I'll have to remember that. That was pretty good.
I bring everything back to food.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'll say this. Here's my caveat. Robert, when I played, I won.
Yeah.
When you played, you won your first time.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not a game that's hard to learn and play and do well at, because I don't tend to win a lot of games, but so it's not a difficult game, and I'm not being colored by having a terrible loss. What I felt was that this game has a mechanism. It does a thing. It makes a tree, literal tech tree. Oh, research this tech. Now that branches out into 2 different techs. right? Research that. That branches out. So you're making this flow chart of different techs to get to some points. Some of the disappointments were some of those technologies only gave you an immediate action.
They weren't exciting. Yeah.
So an immediate reward. So you couldn't go back to that tech to use it again. You only got it as a one-time shot. I think my biggest disappointment was the inability to connect, for me at least, the tech tree to the exploration board.
Right.
Right. The board where you're combating for control of planets and outpost. And I'm gonna give it some leeway here. Maybe it was our play. Maybe because the tech tree allows you to decide which technology types you want to place.
Yep.
We maybe didn't go as heavy military as I would like to have gone, because it's the military actions that allow you to create fighters and take those fighters and jump them to different planets and colonize those planets, which is where the area control part comes in, the direct interaction.
And 2 quick comments I'll make on that. The techs, the stacks of cards for each of the 2, 3, and 4 level techs aren't particularly large stacks, but I will say between the first time I played and this time we played, they were pretty much all different this time than the first time I played. And you may be right on with that, is that just depending on the way you develop the board, the way things come out. And then the other thing I'll say is we didn't develop the board as much in this second play. There were still, I would say, 5 or 6 techs out there that we didn't flip, because people kind of rushed to the end of the tree, which is one of the triggers, and for the end game. But in the first game I played, I think we flipped either every single one or almost every single one of the techs, and so we had a lot more options of things to do. We developed that tech board a lot more, and I mentioned during the game that in this game, that sideboard was the focus for the first third of the game. Everybody was piling onto that sideboard, trying to get ships over there, doing area control, trying to grab up those cards. The first time I played, we developed 90% of our focus for the first 2/3 of the game was developing out that tech tree. The sideboard became grabbing those points at the end that we thought might swing us over the edge.
Yeah, as you colonize planets, you get points for those planets. Almost like I would think Tiny Epic Galaxies.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. Yeah.
Where you place a piece on the board and then you begin putting influence on that board until you finally on that piece, that planet, until you colonize it. It has that similar feel to it. And you get a bonus, right? There's usually a bonus or an action that comes with that planet. So you do want to take planets, you do want to colonize them. Mm-hmm. But the way they tied that on, and I kind of like this piece, Mike, is your population, which is equivalent to how many dice. Mm-hmm. You're not rolling these dice. These dice are not for rolling. They just indicate whether it's a person, a supply cube, or a strength of a fighter. That's all it does, indicate stuff. Right. Your access to those dice is based on the population track. Now, you got to remove these discs off this track to be able to pull cubes off your board. So, the way you get influence on planets is by putting starships on there, and that allows you to remove these discs off of the population track, off of the ore track, because you want to get ore at the end of each round when you produce. The only way to get them off your disc is to either do research actions that allow you to use them, but for the most part, it's control the board. Yeah. So if at the end of your round you want to be able to produce more people or population, or you want to be able to produce more ore, you've got to get these discs off the board, right, off your track to unleash all that production. And the only 2 ways to do it is the automation track, and you got to do technologies to be able to automate these discs off the board, and that gives you points for automating, or you go to a planet, take control, and you can place it on the outpost. Yeah. So I felt like in our game, we had a lot of battling for planets because we saw that. We want to get more people, more population. We want to get more ore. This means I need to send my folks out. There was a little bit of tie-in and theme there because the planets that had to do more cultural type feel to them allowed you to get more population. So I could see that. Okay, I send my people out, they grow. But outside of that, I just didn't feel the theme connected very well to the mechanics. Yeah. So to get your Beyond the Sun.
Out of my mechanics. But yeah, I'd recommend playing it. Yeah.
Yes, get it played and then see if it's something for you before you buy it, because it's It's not a cheap game. Everywhere I see it, it's like $80 or more. I mean,
It's hard.
you're on the BGG right now. Scroll down to the buy.
Yeah, it was hard to get for a while. I know it was hard to find. I was looking for it, and like I say, I think that fed into it a little bit because I couldn't get it anywhere.
You can't have it.
Yeah, so I can't have it, so it made it more exciting. But yeah, $80, $79. Yeah.
Wow.
So on that, Mike, how does it make you feel about wanting to play it based on our enthusiastic review of it?
I don't think it changes my mind. If somebody said you want to learn this game, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'd say give it a try. Yeah.
And I think I want to try it again so that I can push that research track
Try something different.
to the military side.
Yeah.
So as we fork in those roads, if I can make both of those forks military, right now I've got 2 tracks that are flowing that are going to fork again that will be military. So maybe now we can have more techs that are in there, maybe get more combat, more player interaction.
Fork those tracks.
Fork those tracks.
Yeah, maybe you guys just need to play it more. You know,
Yeah.
I have a few games in my collection where first 2-3 plays, I literally was like, I'm ready to sell this game off.
Yeah.
And then I played it that 4th or 5th time, and I was like, what didn't I see these previous plays? Because I absolutely love this game now. You know, so
Yeah, and like you said
I'm
in
not
last
saying that'll
week's
happen with you
episode,
guys.
like you said in last week's episode, you'd go back and buy that game that you
Oh
played,
yeah, with
sold.
Onitama. Yeah.
Onitama, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So those are our thoughts on Beyond the Sun.
Sun, yeah.
So the game that I wanted to talk about this week was Vindication, which I've definitely played multiple times, and that's still one of I put in my top 10 games that I own and probably have played. By Orange Nebula Games or Orange Nebula, came out I think a couple or 2 or 3 years ago. Let me see. I got the BGG up here. So it's got a 7.8 out of 10. It came out in 2018, and the weight is about a 3.08. I would say it's kind of close to being accurate. I think once you understand the moves that you can take, it's really not a hard game to play. But the lowdown on it is you are it literally says you are a scumbag.
It does.
And you are thrown overboard for all these horrible things that you've been doing your entire life, you know, scheming people and trying to get money and all these bad things. You and whoever else you're playing with, you are tossed overboard and you wash up on this island, and you are basically, and you don't have to, but part of the game is vindicating yourself, what they call vindicating yourself. So you're taking all your, what is it called? Your potential,
yeah.
and you're moving it to influence. If you can get all your potential and you're cube pushing, to say it as Rob describes it, you're just pushing cubes. If you can do that, you have vindicated yourself, but not that you need to in the game. That's just part of it. But anyway, you're going through this island, walking around, exposing locations as you go through it. So you're randomly drawing tokens out of a bag. But to go into more detail on it, it's a hexagon-shaped board, and all the locations are hexagons. And if you can imagine this in your head, there's like if you were to put hexagons corner to corner, you would have little triangles in between all those hexagons, and that's like where your marker is walking, quote unquote. You're walking through this island and exposing these locations, and you'll come across locations like a library, or there's inns in the game. There's places where the gaping maw, where you would go and fight these monsters, and I forget where it is, but you can increase the movement that you can do per action.
The stables.
And the stables, thank you. You would think I would know all this with it being in my top 10.
That's all right.
So the way the game is played is you have 3 mandatory moves, or 3 mandatory actions that you have to do. You have to move. You have to either visit or rest while you're before or after you move. Doesn't matter. Order doesn't matter. And then the final thing that you have to do is you have to activate either yourself or a companion that you start with in the game, or other companions that you may pick up while visiting the inn. And then you have, I think, 6 they're not mandatory, but they're just extra actions that you could take if you wanted to. I'm trying to remember them all. You can pull back influence. You can
take control of a location.
Take control of a location. It has to be the one that you visited prior. You can merge your. So there's the 6 sides of this. You have 3 common
traits. These
traits. Thank you. My gosh, man, my mind is mush tonight. So you have like 3 common traits that are spaced out every other side of this hexagon, and then the ones in between are like these harder to get traits.
I think they call them attributes in the game.
Attributes. Thank you.
Yeah.
So another thing is that you're placing your influence on these 3 common attributes, and then something that you can also do is you can merge the 2 into one that's in between them, and these are like higher ranked attributes where it allows you to get things that are a little bit harder, like fighting monsters in the gaping maw, picking up items, and then there's like
was it technology
magic
one, or what's the other
magic
one?
items,
runes.
and then there's
runes. Yeah, that's
runes. Thank you.
Was it artifacts or runes?
Artifacts.
Artifacts. That's what it was.
I know that it's funny because I'm seeing the colors in my head,
Yeah,
but I can't.
Hey, with me, the mechanics, the colors, you're converting blue to purple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the way the game is won is whoever has the most honor at the end of the game, which is basically victory points. And the game starts with 2 in-game triggers, but as you are going up in victory points, and this is something unique that I personally haven't seen in any other games, is I think it's every 25 honor that's passed, there's like a token that you would pick up, and then that would actually bring out another in-game trigger.
Right.
So, towards the beginning of the game, a 3rd in-game trigger probably wouldn't be the one that triggers the end of the game. But once you get to like the 4th and 5th one, you start getting to a point in the game where you're like, that next in-game trigger could actually trigger the end of the game as soon as it comes out, because one of us at the table may have already
fulfilled the requirements.
Fulfilled that requirement, right? So that's one layer of it. But there's this. And Carlos kind of touched on this, before. It's not story heavy. It's not really a story driven game.
Right.
But if you let yourself, I think the way that I envision it is, if you let yourself get pulled into this game, that's where the story comes from. Because if you take a play of it, you're like, okay, I'm this scumbag, and I washed up on this island. I have no idea where I'm at, and I headed into the forest, and I came across this library, and I walked inside, and I gained knowledge from reading these books, and I decided to take control of it, and then the following day I went to this inn, and I met this companion of mine that I have influence over, and I'm bringing him along because he's the one that's providing me whatever, where I can build up these other attributes. And if you let yourself fall into it that way, you can kind of make your own story up in your mind, which I guess I kind of like that part of it. I don't know, there's just all the different ways that you can win. There's other modules that come in and out of it. Like they have a pets module where you can gain pets as well as companions. I typically don't introduce people to the game with the modules, even though you probably could. I like them getting an idea of what the base game is before saying like, okay, well, if you enjoyed this, now check this one out, and boom, you throw this pets one in, which is actually really cool. But again, it's just this game that, it's the first game from Orange Nebula, and from the rating, it's been out for a few years now, so I think the rating speaks for itself. I think it definitely has a big following. They just recently did another Kickstarter for it where they actually are adding a story aspect to it. So it's not just you gain this trait. It's you're reading a short story and you're picking not necessarily a good or evil side to it, but you are saying, okay, well, I'll take that one, and then you flip it over, and then you're going to read a little bit more about how you chose that one or why you chose that one. And then when you get to the end of the game, it has like this whole story laid out for you. This is why you ended up where you are, because of all these decisions that you made in your life, while on this island. And they're going to add other things, like they're actually going to have like caves where you go to a space, and then there's going to be like a smaller board that's next to the big board that you can, and all those types of things. So anyway,
a little underground exploration over there.
Yeah, kind of like that, or other islands that you can be transported to, or
Vindication works really hard in what they did in development of this game to try to get you to fall into this world. And that's one of the things I mentioned to you is they did a lot of work in this world building, in the artwork, in the location names and descriptions. There's a whole world that they created here.
Yeah, every character is named. Like, they all have unique names. They all,
and
even
your
your
flavor text in there that helps you. Like you said, you can fall into this world if you allow yourself.
Correct. If you look at it as pushing cubes, you can technically look at it.
You got me now.
You can technically look at it that way, and it's still a game, because it's this challenge of I need to get more points, but in order for me to get more points, I got to move these cubes from this area to this area, and then I got to move them over here. There really isn't the only luck that's in the game really are the way the tiles come out. So like, as you're exploring, as you're moving around until the entire island is filled, every space you move, you are pulling out a hexagon tile to place on the board randomly out of a bag, out of the scumbag, as they call it.
Yeah.
So
as labeled, embroidered.
The scumbag. Yeah. Pretty clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that, and then I guess the order that the end game triggers come out is random. That's just drawn out of a pile, so you're never quite sure when that's going to come up and trigger the end of the game. But
very true. And then, like, when you get to the end of the game, depending on who has the most of a specific color, you are going to get mastery of that particular trait, where more points are handed out to all the players. And but anyway, again, I absolutely love the game. I would play it anytime anybody said, even if it was like, hey, it's 12:30 in the morning. Mind getting into a game of Vindication? I'd be like, let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's break it out and let's play.
I enjoy it. I like the mechanics a lot, and I'll kind of lay back here a little bit, because I know we got the both sides here. You're one of your favorite games, and Carlos was not a lover of the game, but I'll let him talk a little bit about why he didn't love it.
No, I'll talk about the things that I did like.
Okay, there you go.
Right,
Yeah.
so I like the way it did the spaces. Right, so normal boards, you tend to see like hexagons on the board, and you're going to move from one space to the other. But in the way that they offset those hexes, creating a triangle in between the hexes creates a point where you have access to 3 different tiles. So every time you move, you end up in a place where you can choose one of these 3 locations to interact with. So it doesn't, you don't feel as limited, right? So you move to a spot, and then you decide, of those 3, which ones do I want to interact with? So I like that it makes you move. So you're thinking about, how do I piece together my overall plan? So what spaces do I need to move to do that efficiently?
Can't just sit in one place and do the same thing over and over.
Right.
Yeah.
So kind of like tracking the world. It's making you, one of the things is you must move, get out of the way.
Yep.
Because you're blocking spaces sometimes for folks.
Yep.
So this makes
it
you
gets
move.
a little crowded when you're playing with up to 5 people.
Players, yeah.
You know?
I think we did 4.
I think this one.
No, we did.
We did 5. Actually,
we
I
did
was
5 players.
I was 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a full complement. I loved, and this was fun because Robert talked about how difficult it was for him to understand this.
I knew you were going to go there.
Yeah, the conversion. But it clicked so quick for me.
Yeah.
So Robert struggled with converting his knowledge and his strength into vision, right? Or converting his inspiration and knowledge into wisdom.
On my first play, right?
Right. In Vindication, what they did is they gave him colors. So the primary colors of red, yellow, and blue are your strength, your inspiration, and your knowledge in that order. But in order to go into your full potential, using your full potential, you have to use some courage. Courage requires some strength and inspiration. And so that's yellow and red. Well, that makes orange, right? So you're mixing colors because courage is orange, right? Wisdom is green. So for wisdom, you need an inspiration cube and a knowledge cube mixed together to make wisdom. So not only was it cool in how they used colors to make that easy for Carlos to figure out which things were needed to make a better attribute.
Had some theme in it.
Yes, it had some theme. So like for me, wisdom being knowledge and inspiration together, that makes sense. Strength and inspiration making courage, and strength and knowledge making vision, right? I like that. I like that. That was one of the things I enjoyed.
Yeah.
The movement on the board was great. The artwork was amazing. The quality of the components was awesome.
Yeah.
The fact that there was dice being rolled when you attack them all. You talk about randomness, Mike, but I'm not sure if you mentioned the die. There is a die roll when you attack a monster in the gaping maw.
Right, but you are guaranteed you win every single time.
Right, it's an automatic win.
The thing is that you're sending in your cannon fodder, so you have your.
A moment ago, he was your companion that you met at the inn.
Right. So you have, you start out with one companion. You can gain multiple companions during your time as long as you maintain influence over them. But whoever has the lowest, I guess you can call it an initiative number on every companion, the one with the lowest number is the one that goes in to attack the monster. Well, you're rolling 2 dice. One of the they're both D6. One of the D6 has one of each attribute on it. So you're going to gain, you can put 1 influence on one of those spaces with that die, but the other die has, one of 3 things are going to happen. Nothing's going to happen to your companion, and he comes back. Your companion's going to be exhausted, and I'm trying to remember how you revive him. I think
there was one of your companion. You can get those cubes back off him by going to one of the spots on the board. I forget what it's labeled, but you can.
Yeah, but this is like when they're exhausted. I can't remember, but the other one is, or your companion can die.
Yeah.
You can save your companion if you use one of the, not influence, but it's the highest powered cube, the one all the way to the right, the cube all the way to the right.
It's influence, potential influence, and then what's that spot on the right?
Conviction.
Conviction. Yeah, because
so
your little
cube.
tableau has 3 spears on it. Potential, and in the middle you have influence, and on the right you have conviction, and you're kind of moving that energy over.
Right. So I mean, even though it's random, you're always going to win.
Right.
2, you're always going to gain some kind of attribute point, a cube on one of the attributes, and you can mitigate the loss of your companion. Technically, if you spend a conviction cube, he does not die at that point. So it is luck. That is a little bit of a luck base, but again, there are ways to mitigate it to
companions are easy
minimize.
Easy enough to get. I mean, it spends some resources that you might have wanted to spend somewhere else, but you can always go get another companion.
Right. Yep. So
Rob, you did mention that it wasn't a hit for me, and no, it wasn't. It was not a hit for me.
What missed on it for you?
And I'll throw in that caveat. I came in second.
Yeah.
Rob won with 78 points. I had 72, so I had a competitive game. This wasn't where I was trounced and I feel upset about the game, so I want to let y'all know that. But for me, it was I think the I'm not even sure what the right word is, but the divergence of theme and brainy, cerebral exercise, right? So I can see Mike, like I said, falling into a narrative, creating a story. But in order to do that, you've got to play this exercise of brain to figure out how to make that puzzle work. And that takes a lot of brain energy.
Yeah.
First time I saw y'all play this, sometime in 2020, I think it was, you were all standing around that board, all 5 of you, just staring at the board. 2019.
Silently looking at the board.
Yep. And I'm like, wow, they look like they're having a blast.
I was in my element. That's where I'm at, in my head, planning two turns ahead. So
because you really do have to plan 2-3 turns ahead on what you're going to do it well. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I really started getting the game going when I stopped caring about the theme. Yeah. When I turned it into, I need a yellow and a blue to make green. I'm going to turn this green into that marker. Yeah. Right. To meet this objective. That's when I started getting good at the game. And that's what made me sad. Right. A game where there's so much opportunity for theme, but because it's so hard to play, I have to negate. I can't use brain energy on that. My
I can understand
juices.
that. So, I definitely see where you're coming from, but
Call
ahead,
to
go ahead.
Adventure, right? Call to Adventure is a game where you're going to do something similar. You're going to have a character. It's going to go through trials, and it can go good or bad depending on what you choose to do. But the mechanisms are so easy in that game that it's just story flow. And Robert was like, not for me.
Nope, don't want to roll those bones. I thought that was dumb. I thought that was too much on just rolling stuff. So, yeah.
Just to make story.
Yeah, just to make a story, yeah.
But I guess I got to find one that's somewhere in between those two
Hit it for both of us.
to hit all that.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a great production game. Don't neglect trying this one out because this pushes your cerebral juices. And it feels good when you get it right.
Here's my question. So for both of you guys, I mean, is this a game that you would try again?
Yes,
For sure.
because it wasn't that long.
Yeah.
Do you recall the time?
I think it was just under 2 hours.
It's around 2 hours is what I
Right,
would
that's
say. Yeah.
that's a
with
good
a
time.
5-player game. Yeah.
That's a good time. A 2-hour game to me is a solid game.
I agree.
You get
And I'll
3
be hon-
hours, and my answer would be no.
Yeah. And I was responsible for teaching the game to you guys, and I kind of honestly I hadn't played it in a long time, so it was a little bit of a challenge for me to remember everything. But now that we pretty much understand the rules all at once,
Yeah.
I bet we could get through a game
Hour and a half.
quicker.
Yeah. And I would definitely
We
play
could
it
probably
again.
cut that time down by a quarter.
I've
probably.
played it twice now, both times. Your copy and your copy, is that it was a Kickstarter copy.
Yeah.
You've got the hand stitched mat and all that. Is there a retail version that you can buy now that's different, or is that?
You can always buy it through their website. I don't think it ever went retail per se, but you can get when it's in stock. You can always get it through the Orange Nebula website.
And the components and everything are the same as what you have, as far as you know?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, because the components are nice in there, even though part of it's just cubes, which is always nice for me. But there's some nice nice bits in there. There's, like you said, the artwork is nice. The cards and things are done well.
Game trays.
The game trays. Inserts.
Each player has their own game tray, so you can just hand the tray to that person.
Pass them out at the beginning. It's got everything in it. Yeah.
No, I really like the end game system, right? The idea that as we explore and do things, we're going to be revealing more and more end game triggers, which one of them could just be an instant end. I like that surprise.
Yeah.
Like that pressure of, I got to get things going because this could be it.
Right. Exactly.
I'd like to explore more of the game because I focused my time on vision, right? So like strength and knowledge were the two that I focused on in order to create vision. I didn't play at all in the courage attributes. I didn't do any of the attacking of the monsters. So there's other places I can go to try to explore the game itself. So I'm in to play it again.
Yeah, me too.
And there's different end of game objectives, so that could also dictate how you play the game. Me personally, I had to have control over the gaping maw and have 3 monsters that I defeated. Unfortunately, I didn't get the third one, but that kind of dictated me wanting to visit there more often.
Sure.
Yeah, Vindication gives you these objectives at the beginning of the game, of a main one and a side one to meet, and it felt good being able to complete those. I completed both of mine.
Me too.
I think, Robert, you did too.
I did, yep.
And that feels good. That's like Ticket to Ride, getting all your routes and not having any negative points. It just feels good.
Yeah, for sure.
There are definitely feel-good moments here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
Let's do it again. Yeah.
Vindication. All right, so let's get started on talking about what we've been up to, game-wise, playing, game-adjacent things, just, general conversation. I'll kick us off, man. Game day, second Saturday game day this past Saturday, Robert.
Yep, our monthly game day. We went to there you go, Armada Games in Tampa, Florida. We've been there. This is our second monthly game day there, at least.
Oh, more.
Okay, we've had.
I think we
there.
started there when we started taking it out of the house
Since the pandemic, I guess. Since we got back to the game days, I think this is the second time we've done it up there. Is what I was thinking. But you're right. Yeah, early on we did a couple of them up there. We had a pretty good turnout. It was I think I counted 16 or 17 at one point. So pretty on par. It was a little down from we had been kind of building up and getting more and more. We'd hit 20 or 21 or something a couple of months ago, but it was definitely another successful game. We got a lot of games played.
It's also the first week of school.
Yeah, there was
end of summer, so I knew it would be down.
Yep.
But I was glad to see we had new folks come in. I think there was 3 folks that came in from, I believe, Chester's neck of the woods.
Yeah, I think so. I think they were all down over.
I know Alex brought his girlfriend
Right.
in, so we got to meet her, and she got to play some cartographers with us.
Yep.
So lots of new folks to gaming. That was cool to see that and then random people that I've not met before.
Yeah.
Who saw our posting of the event and came by just to look for a seat at the table.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Very
it
cool.
always feels good to bring new people to the table to play games with, to meet and share with.
Yeah, we like all kinds of games. I mean, we picked a few lighter games. I know the one group picked, they went over, just picked off the shelf there at Armada, Ticket to Ride, which was a game that they were semi-familiar with. Good gateway game, good new game for beginner gamers. And they played 2 or 3 games of Ticket to Ride. And then we were going to work them into the main group and try to get them into some other games, but they'd head out. I think they were going to the football game that night. But yeah, it was great to see new people come out.
Yeah, I got to play Cartographers that day. I saw William playing the Aliens, Another Glorious Day in the Core.
Right. Yeah.
So that one got to the table. We got a huge game of Heroes, Land, Air, and Sea.
Right.
The gambling games.
5 of you?
Yes.
5 of you played that?
6.
Was it all 6? Okay.
6 of us were playing.
Okay.
And I got to see the Bird faction for the first time, and that's where Kai, Zeno's son, destroyed my stronghold.
Swept down out of the clouds and took it to you.
Yeah, he took it to my dwarves. They couldn't beat up those birds. But I was just glad to see that he left his back door open, and the humans did a teleportation of a golem and brought him to the top.
Yeah.
And then took over his aviary.
That's what happens.
And destroyed his castle.
When you leave your back door open.
Both both
Trouble
Kai and I
happens,
were
man.
out.
Yeah. Out of the game. What else you play?
You guys taught me King is Dead. That was awesome.
That was a fun game. Yep.
That was an after party.
Yeah,
that was the party after the party.
We did that after we
Yes.
headed back to Michael's place. He lives just down the road there from Armada, so he invited us over for a nightcap, a late game over there, and that was good. It was one you've been wanting to play for a while, and we had 2 copies there. Michael brought a copy, and Carlos brought his copy.
Yep, I got to sleep, and both of them got played.
Yep, both of them got played. That was
Yeah.
Champions
right.
of Midgard got to the table.
Yeah, I saw you play
forget
that.
how much
Yeah.
I love that game.
Yeah, it's been a while since I played that, but that's a good one.
And then
I cringe every time you break that game out, man.
Oh yeah, he does the old shovel back into the box
Yep,
and all his
just put all
bricks out,
this
all his
crap in
baggies.
here.
And, yeah, exactly.
I did better. I put it back better. What'd you guys get to the table?
Well, I got to play a new game to me that Mike brought, Circadian's First Light, and that one was a lot of fun. Me and Muhammad and Michael played that one, and I know, Michael, you've been talking about that for a couple of years now, and
Oh man,
it seems like you keep talking
it's
about.
hard to get to the table, but yeah.
Yeah, but that was a good one. I know Carlos was looking over our shoulder a couple times. He came over and looked. He's like, "Hold on, I want to play that game. I want to try that game." So I think you'd really like it. There's lots of different mechanics. There's a little bit of dice rolling. You got player screens that you're hiding stuff behind. You're kind of setting your order, and then everybody reveals, and then you're racing to get dice onto certain spots to trigger certain actions. And it's a good game. It's how long does that one run? We say what do you was probably about an hour and a half that it took us to play.
Yeah, about an hour and a half, somewhere in there.
Which is a good
under
sweet
2
spot.
hours, definitely.
Yeah, good sweet spot. I was gonna say that's where about an hour and a half, 2 hours is where I like a game that I can get immersed in, and that was definitely a good one. So I enjoyed playing that. I know we played a couple just quick games just to kind of fill in time. Me and Michael, and then a few other people. We got Nick Oben in. He brought his copy of Rome, which is a Ryan Lockett game in that world of the world has a name and I forget what they call it, but above and below, near and far. Yeah, that whole series, Islebound. It's all kind of set with that same artwork and that same world. And Rome is just a real quick little place.
It's ROAM.
Not
Correct.
ROME. Sorry, I don't want to get with the historical Rome, but ROAM, and just a quick little game. It's just some tiles that you're placing, some area control. You're getting coins, getting artifacts to give you little special abilities, and that one plays in like 30 minutes once you know. But we taught that to Mike, and I think Mike enjoyed playing that one. So
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I'm definitely for a quick game. I would absolutely play it again.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to enjoy it though. Honestly, when you guys first set up, I was kind of like, eh.
I know you looked a little
But then-
hesitant. I saw it in your eyes. I was like, oh, he's not real into this, but
Once it came out and we started playing, I was like, oh yeah, I really like this game.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
even
good.
though you kept knocking my discs off the board there.
Yeah, I took one of the weapon artifacts that allowed me to eliminate yours as I was placing. So you just happened to be where I wanted. I really wanted to go after Nick, but you just happened to be in the spots that I wanted to be in. So we played a couple other just quick ones.
No, but I heard
go
you
ahead.
guys playing
Oh, yeah.
Rome because I was teaching cartographers at the time, and I can hear y'all telling stories about the characters that you were acquiring.
Nick made me do it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, but
But it made me think, okay, they must be enjoying it because they're getting into some of the themey part of it.
Yeah, it's a fun little game.
I dig that stuff. I know Rob doesn't.
No, not
that
so
could go
much.
either way for him, but
Yeah.
Lords of
Yeah, you know,
Waterdeep,
Nick-
I make him read the flavor text.
Yeah.
oh, you have to.
You
in
have to.
Waterdeep.
Oh no!
What are
And
you
it makes me
talking
call them
about?
clerics and robbers and stuff. I'm like, give me a black cube and shut up. But anyway, but that's a good. We played Hanamakoji, which is a game that I actually had introduced you to probably
Yes.
a year and a half ago, and I know you went out and bought a copy of it after we played it. But great little 2-player card game. It was a big game in Japan for a couple of years before it came over to the States, and when it came over, it was a big hit here. Gosh, I want to say probably 2018, 2019, something like that. It was on a lot of people's top 2-player games, but real beautiful Japanese artwork on there. You get the little geishas that you're trying to swing control of, but it's a numbers game. You're just playing cards to try to gain influence, and there's a certain number of cards in each of the different areas that you play. So it's a kind of a math game, a logical deduction game. But that's a fun one. We played. We got a couple games of that in, just kind of killing some time, waiting for other people's games to open up.
Unfortunately, they don't make that game anymore
Oh, they don't really
because of the geisha, the whole geisha thing.
Yes.
They got some flack for it. So
they reskinned.
if you're
it.
looking for the game, I think it's called Jigsaw Academy now.
Yeah, I know they reskinned and put a whole new thing on it. To switch it up with the geishas. The artwork with the geishas was really nice. So,
yeah, and it's nothing.
Yeah, I don't find it.
It's nothing provocative at all.
Right.
You know, and I understand. You know, the whole
Yeah.
geisha history and stuff like that. But
Right.
anyway, yeah. So if you're looking for it, you'll have to buy it on the used market there.
What's it called again? The updated version?
I think it's called Jigsaw Academy
Jigsaw
or
Academy?
something
Like
like
that. Yeah, I've heard of
G
it.
What did
or
they change the theme to?
JIX. They made it men,
Okay.
and I can't remember exactly. I mean, it plays exactly the same
it's the
way.
same game.
Only
Really, it's there for the art. It was beautiful art.
Oh, right.
It was
Yeah.
gorgeous art.
yeah.
For sure.
So
And then the other game I just mentioned, we got in Saturday that you and I played, and William brought was a new game that he picked up, Shifting Stones, and that was a game. That was another quick game. I mean, we played that in probably 30 minutes. Although I don't think any of us had played it. Will opened up the rule book while we were there. He learned it in about 5 minutes and taught it to us, and it was.
I think we played 2 games of it.
We did. We played it twice. We did it. We reset it and played it again. We liked it. So yeah, once we learned it, that was a fun little game also, and it's a little bit lucky, but because
A little bit.
yeah, with 4 of us, you're just moving these coasters, basically these stones that are on the board. You
Dual-sided, yeah.
right, yeah, you can play actions to flip them from one side to another, which is just a difference in the color and the artwork. But you're trying to get patterns. You're getting cards, and you're trying to make certain patterns. As soon as you make the pattern, you play the card, and you score points for it. And you're playing. Was it to a certain number of points, or it was a number of scoring cards? I think once you had 8 in a 4-player game,
Correct.
the first person had 8 cards. Then you'd finish out the next turn, and then you'd be done. But that was a fun little game. It was a little thinky, little kind of puzzly game. But like you say, we enjoyed it, and that's why we reset it and played it a second time. So it was quick and light and kind of a good little filler game.
Yeah, it was one of those where it was you always seem to be one action short of doing all that you wanted to do.
Yep.
Every single time. And for me, I was just like, okay, I could do this and do this, and I'll be one movement short to actually do what I need to do.
Can't flip that last tile or switch the position on that last tile. That one more action that I needed. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was a good one. But that's all I played on Saturday. Did you play anything else, Mike? Or
No, it was pretty much. I think I played almost every game that I played was with you.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think
on
we played
Saturday.
pretty much all the same games on Saturday.
Yeah, just a touch on Circadians though. I could tell that you and Mo liked the game a lot because maybe second or third round into the game, from then till the end of the game, both of you guys multiple times said, man, this is such a good game. Like I could see the gears turning in your head, and Mo would look at me. He's like, I can't believe how good this game is. How come you never taught me this game earlier? I was like, I tried getting it to the table. I bring it with me every time I get to a game, game day.
I know you've been talking about it for a long time. That's why I wanted to play it so much, is because I kept hearing you bring it up, and I know I've liked your taste in games. A lot of the games you've recommended, some of these games I just hadn't heard of, like Vindication the first time I played, and it's one other game that come to mind, Gravwell even. even Gravwell when you brought that out the first time, and Muhammad was completely against that. He's like, I do not like this game, and then I was like, hold on, I think there's probably something to this if Mike likes it. So I found that we've got a pretty similar.
It's a nice
taste,
gateway
so.
game.
Yeah, it's a fun little game. But
I'm interested. I didn't get to play Circadian's Light, but
Circadian's
First Light.
You're gonna like it. You need to play it.
I think you would love it.
Well, just looking at it, I kept walking away from the game I was playing to watch you guys play. Right? And I still don't understand the how to play part, like how to do what you do. I just liked watching what you were doing.
Yeah.
The board has this real Masters of Orion feel to it. It's an old video game where you're kind of controlling a colony on a planet, and you're getting resources and building buildings and acquiring new vehicles. And I can see your docks where you're putting vehicles into your docking bays, and you're moving. Was it called a tractor or refiner
harvester?
The harvester, right? You're harvesting resources off the planet, and my mind is like, oh, okay, this is And the artwork is not. It's not anything very special, but it feels, I don't know, 90s?
It's one of the earlier Garphill games, so it was the same artist that did like the West Kingdom games. I want to say Architects, but I'm talking about like older than that. But like that whole line,
Imperium
it's the
Legends.
same artist. They're actually redoing Circadians because they're coming out with the next game in that universe called Circadian. I think it's called Chaos Order.
Yeah.
And that box, like even this box is the same size as like all the Kingdom games and, Raiders of Scythia. And so the new game that they're doing, Chaos Order, the box is actually a little bit bigger. So, and the artwork is a little more updated. It's a little bit, you could tell that whoever did the artwork, their art, their quality improved as the time went on. So Chaos Order has like a little bit of a different feel to it art-wise, and they're going to reissue Circadian because it hasn't. You can't buy it. The first edition, you can't buy it anymore. I got it through a Kickstarter, and I think it was available retail for a little bit of time, but they're going to reissue it as a second edition. It's pretty much going to be the exact same game. They're going to include the small expansion in the main box, but they're actually increasing. Bigger. Yeah, they're increasing the size of the box. So
I was surprised how small the box was.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. They know how to pack those boxes. Holy cucamonga, man. It's like you open the box and you're just constantly pulling stuff out of this box, and by the time it's all out, you have like a whole table full of components. And
I see nothing wrong with the artwork either. I like the style that they went with. All the aliens look different because every faction has a different alien. Now, are the factions asymmetric?
You're the person that you randomly pick like a leader, whoever you're controlling, and every single one is asymmetric.
Yeah, they give you power for the game. Yep.
Yeah,
and
that's
I
good.
think Rob and Mo would agree that both, all the powers that we each got, because you like deal 2 to every person, you pick one.
Yeah.
You're both looking at them. You're just like,
they were all broken.
Both of these are so powerful.
It's like,
how
this allows me to do something I shouldn't be able to do.
Yeah, but that's when
it all fit.
Yeah,
that's when you have it right. When each player can look across the table and say their powers are broken.
Yeah,
right. Then you're
but they're
balanced.
really not.
Yeah, right. They're pretty balanced. Yeah. And I'm noticing here the designer is also the co-artist. So S.J. McDonald is listed as the designer and co-artist with Sam Phillips. So
Sam
interesting.
Phillips,
Interesting that the designer also was in on the artwork. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I was glad to see you guys get that to the table. You've mentioned it many times before.
Yeah.
And for some reason, just thinking about the style or the theme or the art, I thought it'd be a big game.
Yeah.
Right, one of these games I stay away from because it's going to take energy and time, and like a TI4.
It's a little bit of a brain burner.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it is a brain burner, but it's not like a 3 to 4 hour brain burner.
Especially when you got somebody like me that was stealing Muhammad's moves all the time. I see the three turns in a row is like everything I did. He was like, again, you just did exactly what I was planning to do. So it's like, all right, well, get faster, get better. Yeah,
get out of my brain.
First. Yeah. So he had to replan his strategy a few times, but that was a good one. Yeah,
it was a solid game day.
Yeah. And then we had another little mini game day, just the 2 of us. Or not the 2 of us, but not Michael wasn't there. I guess is what I'm getting at. Me, you, and Dan from Your Turn, and Ben from Your Turn now, I guess as well. He's working for Dan over there. On my birthday this last Monday, we had a little game marathon we started at about 8 in the morning, although we got together at 8. We didn't really start playing until it was after 9 probably.
Yeah, I was setting up the grill because I was smoking a pork butt out on the patio while we gamed all day so that we could finish the night off with pulled pork
nachos.
Nachos.
Yeah.
It was a great day.
It was good. Yeah, it was some good pulled pork, as always. But
I'm talking about the gaming. The gaming was great.
Oh, no, I was the food. Food was good, too. But
we started off with something really heavy.
Yeah,
like
TI-4. Yeah.
I think Dan and Ben both went.
Dan played that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan's been wanting to play it for a little while. So
Wow. What did he think of it?
He liked it. He didn't love it, I don't think.
I don't think.
Yeah.
He
mentioned
Ben,
that-
on the other hand,
Ben loved it. Ben said it was his
we're about 20 minutes in, and he's like, I don't care what happens from here to the end of this.
Yeah.
I'm already in love.
He's like, I already love this game. Yeah. So, and he said he'd set aside a day to play it. So that was a good sign. He said, oh, yeah, I'd be all over this next time y'all set up a game day to play this.
I think Dan would rather play High Frontier.
Yeah, that's what Dan said. He made that comment. He said, yeah, well, if I'm going to play this epic game or High Frontier, I would definitely play High Frontier. And I would probably agree with him. I need to play High Frontier again to get a better grasp on that one because that's a heavy game. But yeah, it's
So how many people played that TI-4?
Just 4 of us.
Yep. And it was
And how long did the game take?
Oh.
Well, we didn't finish. I reserved the right. It's not my favorite game in the world, and so I agreed to play it. Carlos was a little shocked because being
it's
my
my
birthday,
favorte game in the world.
Yeah, being my birthday, he was expecting to play Euros all day, and so
I
said,
had already resigned myself. I had a whiskey bottle ready to go.
But I knew that Dan and Ben both had been interested in playing it. They'd both talked about learning it, and so I don't remember how it came up, but I said, sure, I'll play it. But I did reserve the right. Once we sat down and we started teaching it, the teach took a little longer than I thought, and then Carlos had another appointment that came up that he had to run out to real quick, so it kind of set us back at the beginning a little bit. But once we started going, I said, all right, well, I reserve the right, being my birthday, that if this hits about 6 hours, no matter where we're at, I reserve the right to call it because I want to get some other games in. And so we hit probably right about 6 hours, not of actual game time, but with teaching, and then we had about an hour that you had to run out, that we kind of put it on pause.
Yeah, but you continued teaching. It literally was just not even a full hour of me being away.
Yeah,
because it was right next door for the new baby. But Rob continued teaching during that time period, which helped.
Yep, for sure. But we got to about that 6 hour point, and we were just getting to the point where we were going to start seeing some conflict. So I think it was Dan who said, "Hey, let's just let's call it here. We learned how to play." I think Ben and Dan both kind of made the comment that, well, I made a few mistakes. If I knew how the game worked, I would have done things a little bit differently. So they weren't completely invested on finishing the game. And I said, all right, well, yeah, we're to that point that I think let's just show. I told Carlos, let's show them a combat. So we kind of went head on at each other and just pulled some ships in, and we're like, let's just do a round of combat, show them how that works, and we did that, and then we put it away. So
this is where I'm totally confused, right? So like I hear about these folks, and I don't know if it's a lie.
Oh yeah,
that they can get in a game in 3 hours.
Yeah, there's no way.
Barry has said he's played multiple games at the 3-4 hour mark.
Oh wow.
I don't see it. Like
How fast does a Xeno play?
Oh, he's all about just straight combat now. But when I played at Xeno's house with the new expansion, playtime was 15 hours.
Yeah, but expansion adds a ton of time though.
Yeah, F that.
Yeah, yeah, that's not for me. So
that was for me.
In my opinion, I've said this over and over, but just to put my opinion out there again, is if I'm going to spend 6, 8, 10 hours on a game day, I'd rather play 3 or 4 or 5 different games, have some different experiences. I agree. I understand. I know I'm in the minority on this, but I understand that TI is an epic game. I understand it's going to give you epic stories. It's going to give you epic memories. But I still would rather play 4 or 5 different games, 2 hours each, than play one 10-hour game, I think. And especially with that one with the combat in it. I'm not that big into the combat part of it. If you leave me alone, let me build my economy and let me do my thing.
Have a little euro on the side.
Yeah, that would be for me. But 10 hours of stress and negotiation and a potential conflict, I don't know. That's not for me. So
yeah.
But
I get that.
It was a good time. But we played. So we taught them. We got that done. That's what we played some Beyond the Sun right after that. I had
kept
played
the space theme going.
Yep. That was my second play of Beyond the Sun. Carlos's first. Both of us.
I got the win.
Yeah, Carlos won. Yeah.
Nice.
So we agreed afterwards that it's a game that we enjoyed. We played it. We're kind of done with it. Well, not done with it, but it's not a game that we're going to be rushing to play again.
Yeah, I took it off my wish list on Amazon.
Yeah, there you go. So that says a lot. So
That'll tell you, yeah.
and I agree, not a game that I need to own. We played some Rallyman GT. We pulled that out and got in a quick little 4-player game. I think it was a 4-player game of that we played.
Yep.
And that was a fun experience. That was we discovered that's the first time any of us had played that, and that was a light little racing game.
No, Rallyman GT is great. I know, Mike, you joined us for the Thunder Alley League.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And Rallyman GT hit off exactly as I wanted it to, in that it fit right between Formula D,
Yep.
which is a push your luck dice chucker racing
Roll
game,
dice to move,
and
almost.
Thunder Alley. Like it's like
Okay.
smack in between those two, and I think it's just going to allow for bringing in newer players,
Yeah.
and not having the difficulty of Thunder Alley where you have to really work cars together to win a game. I was really surprised with Rallyman GT how many times the lead changed.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is in Rallyman GT, you're going to be in a certain gear. Each car will be in a gear, and the car in the highest gear is going to go first. So although Mike wasn't able to move first last round, he got himself into a position where he was in a higher gear. So then he was able to, in the next round, go first. Kind of swerve around our cars, get to a pinch point, right? And then block a little bit of traffic in that hairpin where we couldn't really get around him, thus holding that lead. And Mike, I know you and I, it's a weird story here, folks. Mike and I met many months.
I love this story.
Yeah, I don't think we've told it. Mike and I met months before we ever met in board gaming, and we didn't know it. It took a while to figure it out, but Mike and I both ended up at an autocross event. Autocross is where you race your cars or time lapped around cones. So Mike and I are both interested in auto racing. So, and this is why I bring this up, Mike. The game really incentivizes having the right line as you take a corner. And it does that through a difficulty setup for each corner. And it really felt cool seeing how it incentivizes you to really hit that apex and come out of there in the right gear to be able to really launch off. And my buddy Mike was with us. Not you, Mike, but Mikey Mike.
Yeah.
my childhood friend Mike.
The other Mike, yeah.
He's not a huge gamer, so it took a little while to get him ramped up on it, but he's also a car guy like me. And once he started seeing the strategies of, okay, if I hit this line and grab that apex there, I can come out in a higher gear. And I'm watching him enjoy it, and I'm enjoying it. So, I mean, really, Rallyman GT, we've got to try. I know we've done Thunder Alley as a league.
Yeah.
We got to get everyone together for a game of Rallyman GT. And it also has a solo way to play it where you can each run a time trial, which will set up be your qualifier for your running order for the race. So, I mean, that just kind of hits off on all those, gas on my chest, automotive sports feels. So, big thumbs up, Rallyman GT.
Sure.
Definitely a game that I want to try. Ever since it came out, I was like, that looks like and that's exactly what I expected. A game that's kind of in between that Thunder Alley, Formula Day game. So I think that would hit a sweet spot with me as well.
We'll have to put a game of that together and get some more people introduced to it and kind of teach them that dice mechanic of laying those dice out's a little weird, but I want to do that a few more times, kind of get used to that. But it was a neat way to do it. So,
but it also allowed you to decide how much luck you wanted to deal with.
Yeah.
Because in Rallyman GT, Mike, you're going to take your dice, which indicate what gear you're in, and you're going to place them on the track, right, in the spaces you want to go to. And then you're going to roll them one at a time until you decide to either A, stop, because if you ever roll 3 or more hazards, your car will spin out and end your movement. Okay. So if you ever get to like 2 hazards after rolling a few spaces, you can say, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to stop right here in 4th gear. I'm not going to push it any farther. Or you can do like I do, and they call it
push your luck.
Hey, when in doubt, go flat out. So they call it flat out, and you just lay your dice down on the path you want to go, and you pick all of them up, and then you chuck them at one time, and just pray you don't get 3 hazards. And if you're successful at it, or even if you fail, you're going to get a number of focus tokens based on the dice you rolled. You can then later use those focus tokens as a resource to skip dice on a regular roll. So in future turns, I can then lay down my dice path and then spend these focus tokens to say, you know what, I'm going to ignore that die, I'm going to ignore that die, and that die. I'm only going to roll these 3 dice because I was able to focus for my flat out. So it really kind of incentivizes you to try some push your luck stuff to get some resources that you can then use to get some cool maneuvers on like a hairpin or something.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, it sounds fun.
Rallyman GT.
And then the only other game I had that we played on that I remember on the list was we played Endeavor, Age of Sail.
Oh man,
yeah,
I love that game.
It is a good game. So I've been able to teach this to a handful of people. We played it the first time over at your turn, and this was a game that was pretty high on the BGG rating. Actually, I'm pulling it up right now. It's a game that I hadn't heard of until I started looking up and down the BGG ratings, and then I started seeing it showing up on other people's lists and things. It's rated 121 right now overall out of all games, which is anything in the top 500 on BGG is pretty dang good. Anything in the top 200 is outstanding. But this is a real fun game. The setup time is a little daunting, the setting up the board, but once you get it set up, the game plays really smooth and pretty quick. We played a 4-player game, I think it was of that, and it might have taken us an hour and a half. I know we had told Mikey it was going to take about an hour, and when we hit the hour point, he was like, "Hey, this is going longer than y'all said it would." I think he was trying to get out, but yeah, I think everybody enjoys that game when we played. I think he had a good time with it, but he was a little. Again, he's not a regular hobby gamer, so we get him into some games here and there. But so I think a little bit of it, especially early on, was he was grasping a little bit to try to figure out how the mechanics worked and how to do well in the game. But yeah, it was a fun game.
But even with that, Mike being completely new to it, the point spread was the winner at 66, and Mike was at 61.
Yep.
Dan was at 62, and Rob at 63. There was a 3-point spread between the bottom 3 players, including a newbie gamer to it.
Yeah.
So I mean, he did figure it out. He ended up, and part of it was, I'll say this: I did get the win.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop. And here's the big asterisk on it. I am the only player who did not use the slavery deck.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And of course, Robert right up front, turn 1, he's getting into that deck.
Yeah, early.
Right?
Yeah.
And then Dan and Mike and I are just, we're like, all right, we're going to empty out the European deck. We're going to make slavery. Because in Endeavor Age of Sail, there's a deck where you can use what they call slavery in order to get additional bonuses. However, there's a European deck, and if you clear that deck out, you abolish slavery, and the players that used any slavery would lose everything that they gained from it and more.
Plus, they get negative points at the end of the game.
And negative points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I love the way they did that. Coming from an island of Puerto Rico where this, the trade and the slave trade was a big part of that. That's why I have brown in me.
Yeah.
Right. That's the idea of how they did not ignore this, right? They didn't go Puerto Rico route where they call it colonists. No, they brought it out. They said, this is slavery, and if you use it, it will help you in the short run. In the long run, it could hurt you.
It could.
But it also depends on the other players. And I'm over here like, I'm going to hurt Rob for going there. Well, all of a sudden, Mike starts to see how Rob has really advanced his economies and his industry
from using that slavery deck.
And Mike jumps in, and because Mike's from the Virgin Islands in Puerto Rico, like me, we grew up together. He jumps in, and I'm like, bro, really? You're gonna go on his side?
And then Dan, who was really taking the high road the whole time,
Dan was giving them crap
about
for
the
it.
2/3 mark. He's like, hold on, I'm gonna get on some of that slavery myself.
So he pulled from those cards, and I held my moral high ground. I didn't touch it. I found other areas to go hit business.
Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised that I got the win. I really was.
Yeah.
I think you were too.
Well, that's a game I don't know that I'd almost never do well in that game, but I would say it's probably pretty close to one of my top 10 favorite games all the time. So it's... Again, it's that whole thing that a lot of people accuse me of only liking games that I do well in or that I win in. But I lose that game just about every time I play. My daughter, my 15-year-old, she's kind of been known as the killer in that game. She played with several groups of us and has beat us fairly handily. But I think I've beat her once, and she's beat me about 5 or 6 times now in that game. But still a game that I really enjoy. The mechanics are really simple. Once you learn it, I mean, there's not a whole lot of choices. You only have, I think it's a total of 5 different actions you can do in the whole game. And it's just it's those decision points of where to go, which track to push, which area to move
Not
into.
even the where as much as the when.
Yeah, when to get in,
Right.
True.
when you want to be. in,
That's the part I like. The juicy part is the when.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I really want to open up some trade relations in the Caribbean
Yeah.
because I want to get one of those tokens that's on that track. But the moment I go there, then Robert can drop one, and then
Right.
Michael drop one, and then Dan will get my token.
Yeah.
And then, Rob will be able to place his second influence, and suddenly he's got the governor card.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that opened up that conversation about going to the Caribbean, and I got the least out of it.
Yeah, it's got lots of good decisions, and that's why I like it. Lots of decision points, lots of, well, I could do that, or I could do that, or what do I need to push that track? I need another shield here to increase my hand size. So yeah, there's lots of fun little decisions.
Judicious use of combat is fun.
Yeah.
Because you can set up this trail of your influence circles, your influence disc on different forts, right, with the benefits in between and maybe some players in between. But with the right timed combat where you swap one of their discs for your disc, all of a sudden now you're peeling off those linkages, those linkage bonuses. And when you can get like 2 or 3 linkage bonuses off of one combat or 2 rounds, it's just,
pop multiple. That's what's
so good.
You got good at that late in the game. You were finding those right combats where you could pop 2 or 3 more tokens and get those bonus tokens, and that really helps. Yeah. For sure. But yeah, fun game. That's one game that I'll play pretty much anytime, and it's a pretty game. That board is really nice looking. There's nothing particularly special. I don't have the Kickstarter version. Dan's got over at the shop with all the little wooden bits and everything. I've just got a lot of cardboard on there, but that map looks like a 1700s or 1600s cartography map of the world, and it's just it's got some flavor there. I can get into the theme on that one. It's a fun game. So.
I'm sure you could.
Yeah. That was I think it for our birthday game day on Monday.
Yeah, we finished it off with pulled pork nachos and some pie.
Yeah, heck yeah. My daughter made a key lime pie, and Dan said he doesn't normally like key lime, but he enjoyed that one, so it was good. I've still got a little bit left.
Happy birthday, Rob. I'm glad we were able to celebrate that. You know what?
Good times.
How about you do it again next year?
I'll
have
try.
another
I'll try to make
birthday
that
next
happen.
year.
Yeah, I'll try to stick around long enough for that one. And we talked about in a couple of years, Dan and I and Michael actually are going to be hitting a big mark here in the next few years, the big 5-0. So we're going to have some kind of blowout bash for that when we hit that big one. So
do a con or something.
Yeah, something.
Mike, any games for you?
Here's a question for you, Carlos. Who do you think is going to hit 50 first?
Oh, he knows. We've had this discussion.
Because
you don't have to answer that. I'm joking.
Because, yes, we'll leave it alone.
We'll leave it at that.
Lady never tells her age.
Exactly. So, anything else that we need to hit on there? Or?
Any other topics you want to bring in?
I mean, I have a couple of kind of. I mean, I guess they're board game topics, but I mean, are we done discussing games?
No, man. I'm here. We're going. This is the banter part of the show. My favorite part.
Yeah. So this is. I've got a few things here. We don't have to hit on every single one of them. One of them I really don't have too much information on, but I felt it needed to be brought up. I'll hit on that one last if we want to. But anyway, one of the games that I like a lot, Edge of Darkness, which is it's a card crafting game. Same maker of
Mystic Veil.
Mystic Veil, thank you very much. Yeah, same kind of concept, but it goes more into.
Is this the pirate themed one?
No, you're thinking that's.
Same company though, right? All the same.
Same company. Kickstarter hasn't delivered yet, but anyway, this is there's kind of like worker placement. There's a lot more mechanics to it than Mystic Veil, but it's the same idea of crafting cards. So I think it's part of this is because of what's going on with the pandemic and 100% of things not really known at this time. Anyway, I've been waiting for this Kickstarter that they just launched for an expansion of Edge of Darkness, and they're actually bringing in some of the Mystic Veil, theme into this Edge of Darkness game. So me being the completionist that I am, there is a second expansion that none of this is retail, and I was never able to get the second expansion. And
I feel like we're having an intervention here.
Yeah, it feels like
it feels like no. So I backed the expansion, because I wanted this new expansion that came out. The other one is something of Cold Harbor is the expansion that I'm missing. So anyway, a lot of people are asking, like, are you gonna make these other expansions available on their own? Because they were saying, look, we have the pledge level for just the new expansion. We got a pledge level for gameplay all in, and then it was like, the past bundle that we had. And then, that was like, those are the only 3 whatever that you can back. But then they said on the Kickstarter homepage, you can add on, the first expansion we had, the second expansion we had, the one that I'm missing, the second one. But then it said limited quantities, but they wanted you to add the money to your pledge. But it's dictated by and this has been said multiple times in the questions, like, it depends on how many of these all-in bundles that we sell. Because if we don't sell them all, then we're going to have a limited quantity of whatever's left over. And I think I think this is just a product of, with COVID and everything, with the shipping issues. Well, the thing is if you put your money in for this game, and I even asked this question directly, and they answered it. If I put in the extra $45 for the second expansion that I'm looking to get, but you run out, I won't know until the Pledge Manager gets launched. The Pledge Manager won't get launched for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks possibly. I'm past the 10 days where I can get 100% of my money back. So I asked them, let's say I didn't want, let's say I put the extra money in, and Pledge Manager comes out and I can't get the expansion, and I ask for my money back. Oh yeah, you're going to get 80% of your money back.
Wow.
What?
Wrong answer.
No. How are you going to do that?
Wow.
So, I mean, there are a number of people that pulled their pledge because they just couldn't give straight answers. And again, I kind of understand they are limited, but here's the thing. Just say you're limited and say, if you pledged for this and you didn't end up getting it, we will give 100% of your money back. It soured the whole thing for me. It left a bad taste in my mouth. I'm still going to back the one expansion, but I didn't put the extra money in because, and I even asked the question, what if I put, what if me getting this new expansion is based on me getting the second one, just because of the way my mind is? Same thing. If I wanted my money back, you're only going to get 80% of your money back.
But you won't know
until the Pledge Manager comes out,
which is past the date for you to make that decision.
Correct.
It feels like they're using a technicality in the user agreement of the Pledge Manager. Because I can't think of why would the Pledge Manager get.
I think it's because when Kickstarter issues you your money, they take their percentage,
right,
and that's that. And then when it gets to the Pledge Manager, if they had, let's say, not that it would happen, but let's say everybody backed out and said, okay, I want my money back. Well, then now they're shelling out more money than they actually got, so it's going to hurt them in the long run. So I can kind of understand their point of view, but it's like, look, we're only going to have X number of copies, make it an add-on, and limit the quantity. How is that? I don't understand how this is so hard to handle. But again, I kind of poo-pooed on that.
You still in?
I'm still in on the new expansion. Only. But I won't put my money in for the second one until the Pledge Manager comes out. But anyway, that's one thing I wanted to touch on. Am I okay to continue?
Oh yeah, no, this is the banter piece.
Okay, I think you two guys might chime in on this one as well. So on the list of topics here, I put in board games with apps get an automatic 1 out of 10.
Oh yeah, I saw the chat on that one. Yeah,
I think William referenced this during the call-in show as a joke.
Oh, we did.
Yeah,
oh, okay. I might have missed.
I must have missed it. Yeah.
So I was looking up scores, and I saw for Vindication, or not for Vindication. I'm sorry, for Mansions of Madness.
Oh.
And I noticed that there are some ones, and I'm the kind of person, like, I'll read a bunch of the 10s and the 9s, and then I'll read some of the 1s and the 2s to see like what people on any game.
Sure.
And I'm going down the list, and I'm seeing a few people saying, well, the app is this and blah blah. And then this one guy said, mandatory app. This, it's not
Equals,
really
I think equals symbol,
No board
Right.
game.
not a board game.
not a board game. And I was like, what? So I was like, okay, well, that's kind of odd. So I clicked on the guy's name and I looked at his ratings that he gave, because you can see in BGG, you can see all the games. 32% of the games that he rated were ones. And I was like, what? This is like 90 plus games, right? So I click on the one in his thing and it pulls up all his one ratings. 100% of them were ones because the game used an app.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking to myself, like, first of all, if you're this against apps, there's no way you played these games. Okay. You're just giving it a 1 to be spiteful for whatever reason. Okay. You don't like technology in your games. That's cool. But if you didn't play the game, like, technically, yes, you can do this, but I mean, why be such a, a hat?
I wonder if it was our caller from one of our early shows.
It reminds me of
Steven.
First Call. Steven, you out there?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, there's obviously some people who feel that way. I mean, Steven was adamant that that technology was ruining board gaming, and that us talking about people playing online was doing a disservice to the hobby.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I remember that. That was like one of your first weeks. So
Right.
It was our first call. I think our first
It made
week,
me question, why am I doing this? Getting cussed out about board games.
Yeah.
So here's the next thing. I wrote BGG.
I saw
and
that.
I said, I wrote him a letter or email, a letter. I wrote him an email and I just said, look, I came across this guy's reviews and all these ones. And I said, it's not going to bother me personally, but when you have things like this that go unaddressed, it could potentially ruin these games or a company, or because like if it's Mansions of Madness, we're talking about Fantasy Flight here, this one guy's one rating is not going to bring this company to its knees. But if you've got an independent guy that happened to use an app in his game for whatever reason, if it's a mandatory app that you have to use, and you've got people like this making these blatantly obvious, jerk reviews.
Troll.
You're trolling, right? I said, I love games. I want everybody else to love games. We should include everybody and welcome them in. This is only going to turn them away from a potentially good game. And the reply
It just skews everything.
It does. And the reply I got was, it is not against the BGG rules what he's doing. The only way that it would go against the rules is if he was making multiple accounts and posting multiple reviews with the same guy with multiple accounts. And it was just like fell on deaf ears, in my opinion. And I mean, looking at it from their point of view, are you really going to moderate every single review from thousands upon thousands of people? No, but when you see something so blatantly obvious where this guy is doing, 90 plus games, and it's just this stupid line of app, required app, it's a 1.
Yeah, and there's some deep mathematical stuff there. I mean, this has come up. I've heard it discussed on Dice Tower a lot. People have talked about it, and supposedly BGG has the very complicated mathematical system, and they until a game has a certain number of ratings, they keep all the ratings in there. But once it's been rated so many times, the system will start kicking out the top and the bottom ratings to kind of bring it more towards a median. And they supposedly have a very sophisticated aggregator that puts all these numbers together and does all these trends and things. And so to some extent, I don't know the technology behind it. I don't know how it all works.
Yeah, we don't want to know how the sausage is made.
Well, I was going to say, and supposedly they've kept it secret on purpose. It's one of their trade secrets. It's this system they have set up.
Okay.
Nobody knows how it works because they don't want that to be out there for everybody to be able
Brother,
to
this
use.
is a tactic. It's called the increase of ambiguity.
Yeah.
Right. The more I can increase the ambiguity, the more likely you are to just kind of wave a hand at it and accept it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It could be some guy named Bob back there who's just picking and choosing what rating to give it at the end of the day. I'm with Mike. I think we need to find a way to kick out these crap ratings so we can have a real median number, not a number based on some algorithm that we have no idea how it works. Like, we really want to know what the gamers think about these games. I don't know. Am I going too hardcore on it?
It's just hard to know. And then they say you got the other side. You got people who are going to rate everything a 10, and so it's like, where do you stand on that? Because like me, I don't think I have anything ever rated a 10. I would never say that there's a perfect game. But there's a lot of other people who say, oh, yeah, of course there are. There's definitely games that should be rated a 10, and they may have 50 games that are rated a 10. So it's like, where do you walk that line? People have different ways of evaluating.
That's all their opinion, too.
Yeah.
It's your feelings are your feelings. They're not right or wrong. They're your feelings. That's how you feel about something,
Right.
So I think BGG does a good job of giving you or defining the stars. I love that about their system, where it says a 5 means I'll play it if there's nothing else being played. Right? It meant like a 10 is I will ask to play this all the time.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? But kind of defining that scale, and if we all abided by it, it would help to better provide data that's accurate on how people feel about a game. But the idea of like, behind the scenes manipulating ratings, I don't know if I like that at all.
Yeah. Well, the good side about it, though, is that they allow you to click on a user, go find out how that user has rated a bunch of other games, just like Mike did, and you can go find out the guys that they had, and you're not gonna put any stock in what he had to say. So, but yeah, when you're looking at just the overall number, and again, I read those numbers a lot when I'm reading off the stuff, just because it's there, and BGG is the known popular place to go to find that, and I think it's probably as accurate as anything we have right now.
It's a scale.
Yeah, it's a scale.
It's a scale at the end of the day, and that's what I look at it as. Yeah. It is a scale.
Yeah. So
I mean, TI4 belongs higher, I know.
Oh yeah. So it's broken. TI4 is not number
the
one.
Gloomhaven players have broken
Gloomhaven. Anyway, what else you got, Mike?
Did you see that Magic the Gathering, Mike? Did you see that article about somebody copyrighted a Magic the Gathering deck?
This was crazy.
What?
Yeah.
Like a deck they built?
Yes. Somebody created a deck.
Group of cards, yeah.
And
how do you do that?
I never thought that was possible.
Yeah.
This was an article. I thought I saw it was like Polygon, but I think Bella Lost Souls maybe when I first saw it. But I think I also saw it on Polygon. And it talks about somebody, and here I'm pulling up the article now, somebody copyrighted a Magic deck, right? So what they did was they created their deck, and we're all used to these kind of ideas of you make a deck, you take it to compete. If it does well, people find out about it and they start using that deck. They call it net decking, right? Okay. It's called net decking, online finding somebody else's deck and using it. Well, what this person did is they took their deck, chose a certain series of cards, and created a story / like theme to it. And gave it a name, a title. It was like Angels and Demons or something. Angels, that's Angels and Demons. That's what he named it. Angels and Demons. It's a collection of cards, and also created a story to go with it. And by adding that story to it, that narrative of how these cards interplay with each other fictionally, he's created a work that he can copyright and has officially copyrighted it.
Sure.
So now the question becomes, right? All right, it's copyrighted. Can I use those cards in that deck, or the same combination of cards, to go play a game with?
Not against him.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, you're copyrighting the story, though, right? Not necessarily the deck of cards.
In conjunction with the cards. So I think this is where the shifting sands of the foundation of this copyright is going to be questioned on.
Yeah.
Is people using, can you copyright a deck because you added a story to it and make that prevent others from just using those components?
That's ridiculous.
It's going to go to...
My initial thought is that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's unclear is what they're saying. It's unclear how this is going to work out, and we'll have to see when...
Well, until he sues somebody and then we get a judge to take a look at it.
Right, until it goes to court, we won't know for sure. But dang, if somebody wasn't like totally metaing the system here.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently this person is known for attempting to copyright
stuff,
different things to kind of show how the copyright system is messed up.
Okay. Well, if they're doing that to kind of prove a point, but I was going to say, if they let that slide and actually make it a thing, that's just going to open up a whole can of worms, in my opinion.
No, imagine me like making a army for 40K.
Yeah.
Be like, well, this composition of army with this narrative, and then go copyright that and prevent others from using it.
I'm going to copyright my scythe style, my certain prescribed set of moves to,
Right,
to
these-
start scythe. Yeah.
But Robert, that's also going to require you to create
I gotta
story
create a
and
Well,
theme.
you're creating the story for me. You'll do that part. I'll do the I'll do the mechanics and the strategy. Yeah.
Some of the examples that they give when it comes to copyright law is you can't copyright a recipe,
Yeah.
right? Or even the components of a recipe. But
Right,
if you make a
because-
collection of recipes, you now have a cookbook,
Sure.
and you can copyright that. So no one else can use that collection of recipes in a book. I'm a little
His
stunned at
cards,
this.
his cards would be the ingredients, right? It's the ingredients of the deck. And so, I don't know, if he had a series of decks that he put together to play in a certain way, then maybe, using that example. But
And a book of stories.
yeah, that's interesting.
Robert Hoyden, he got his Angels and Demons.
Leave it to a Robert. Yeah.
It's a title of work. Is the way it's described. But very
Crazy.
interesting. Let's get together and come up with something to copyright. I want to be able to.
Just try something. Yeah. Just to
I
mess
want to
with it.
copyright Carlos's insert for Champion of Midgard.
Oh, yeah. The Altoids can.
Yeah, I'm gonna copyright. Just throwing everything in a box and copyright it, and then that way nobody else can do that.
It's called a game organizer.
What was
yeah?
that April Fool's Day from Broken Token? It was like,
yeah.
no, I think it was.
yeah, the inserts. Yeah.
Unfolded space.
It was
Folded
folded
space.
space.
That's
it
what
was
it
just
was.
one big
Just
insert.
foam around the outside of the inside layer of the box.
You just gotta roll it in there.
That's hilarious.
Just scoop
Nah,
it all
that-
in. Yeah.
That's a news article I found very interesting to gaming, and I'm just curious to see, will it pop back up or will that just fade away into
funny.
nothing?
Yeah. So you mentioned Broken Token, which
Yeah.
is actually the topic of my final thing that I wanted to bring up.
Go ahead.
So I was on Twitter today. Well, technically yesterday, if you're looking at the time. So I was on Twitter on the 19th of August, and Isaac Childress made a post, a tweet, and I'm just going to read the tweet. And I tried finding information on this, and I could not find it. And I'm just going to read what he put on his tweet. So this is what it says. Sexual assault and harassment has no place in this industry, and he's referring to board gaming industry, I would assume. And Cephalophore Games is committed to making it safe for everyone. We're exploring options regarding the inserts sold during the Frosthaven Kickstarter, as well as other Broken Token obligations, and we'll have more news soon. So I'm assuming, and please don't take this as gospel because I do not know if this is the case. I'm assuming he is saying this in reference to a possible sexual harassment case or issue that it went on at the Broken Token.
That's what it sounds like.
And I tried searching for it. I couldn't find any news on it anywhere.
2 hours ago,
I haven't heard anything about that.
forum.rpg.net has an article about Broken Token CEO accused of abuse.
Oh, all right.
So,
wow.
It sounds like you hit the nail on the head on that one.
Huh. Breaking news. Yeah, that's brand new stuff then.
It's tough, man, because it feels like, because these are people at the end of the day that we're talking about.
Right.
People interacting with other people, and then the companies involved around them.
Yeah.
All those relationships for products, contracts.
Right. And let's make it clear. This is an accusation.
Right.
We don't know if it's true. It could very well be true. And believe me, I'm not taking sides on any of this. If it did happen, then absolutely it's a horrible thing. But again, this is an accusation. From my point of view, we don't know if it's
all
true
allegations,
yet. But then again,
allegedly.
right. It's just, who would go after the Broken Token if it's not true? Like, who would make this up about the Broken Token?
Yeah.
Or the CEO of it? But again, I saw this come through on my feed, and I was like, whoa, like That's and you figure the broken token, and I forgot they were doing inserts for Frosthaven.
Yeah.
That's a big account right there that you lost.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's huge. I'm waiting for my shipment. I did not do the broken token upgrade, but I did go in on Frosthaven, so I've been waiting on that. So that's big.
Yeah, there's an article linked in there to the person who's writing the narrative of the accusations. I guess I'm gonna have to read that, and you're gonna probably see a shakeup in the company. I mean, that's
probably.
It's not the first time it's happened this year, and it probably won't be the last because we are talking about people. And people are broken.
Oh yeah, I mean, who was it? Blizzard. That was.
Blizzard's going through that right now.
They're going through the whole thing of the whole frat boy type of mentality at their workplace, and I mean this has been going on for I think ever since corporations started. It's just coming more and more to light as we go on in time.
Yeah, for sure.
It's tough.
Pretty sad though. Yeah,
it is because being a Broken Token fan,
right. I have some of their inserts.
Right. But it doesn't take away from what product they produce and the employees at this company. And that's the toughest part is the impact to the employees because of some decisions and actions of the leadership there.
Correct.
Hopefully they'll be able to make fast decisions to separate the people that make the bad decisions from the company so that the employees can continue to maintain a living. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, way to bring us down there, Mike.
Big breaking news.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's breaking news, though.
Yeah.
Well, let's bring this back up. What did you acquire this week, Carlos?
I got a sale. I found a sale on. It was like an email I got like last minute. You have 4 hours left for Miniature Market, and they had a copy of.
They got you with that one, huh?
Oh, they did.
I got the email too,
but it was $18.
Okay,
right. So I mean, $18 is like a trip to McDonald's with the kids.
Yeah, for sure.
For a copy of 51st State.
Yeah.
Portal Games, Ignacy Trevicek. This is Imperial Settlers Mad Maxed up into like a post-apocalyptic world.
Yep.
Hell yeah, brother.
Right.
Yep. I'm a big fan of Imperial Settlers. I know Mike's a big fan of 51st State, so I have never played 51st State. I got to try that sometime.
I guess we'll have an opportunity soon.
I've never played it either.
Okay. Well, there we go.
Just a fan of the theme. The different factions are pretty creepy. Like different punk style factions or like cannibal factions, and you're fighting for guns and water for those resources. But it plays that tableau of Imperial Settlers, which is awesome. We all know that system.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
It's great.
One of my favorites.
So that
I definitely want to get it to the table. I mean, I have 51st State as well, and the expansions, and I've been wanting to learn it to get it to a table and bring it to one of our monthlies or whenever we get together and game.
Cool. I don't know where $18 lies on the retail spectrum, but
I think that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, that sounds like a great deal.
Yeah, but they also got me because in that deal they also had a dice tower for Zombicide, so I had to pick that up.
Of course, had to.
Did you hit your $100 mark to get the free shipping?
I did at first. Like the cart was there, and I'm like, Carlos, you got to stop falling for this trap. Just pay the $6 shipping and save yourself $70.
Yeah.
So I think my order totaled out to about $35 with shipping.
Cha-ching.
Nice.
I got some paintbrushes because I needed those. They were on sale.
Wow, man.
Miniature
That's like
Market's
getting
got
out of
good
Costco
stuff.
without spending $100.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's like going to Target and walking out with a thing you planned on buying only,
Only.
which never happens.
Yeah.
So that was my acquisition. Hasn't arrived yet, but I'm just kind of proud that I was able to get it for $18. I'm not one of these people that does well with like sales and stuff. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't follow them enough. I guess the timing was just right. Like it caught me at the right moment.
That's good.
I saw it within time.
It's a good deal. Yeah, $18.
Awesome.
I know Mike's always trying to hit us up in our chat group. Whenever he sees the deals, he shares it, and by the time I look at it, like everything's sold out. And
I try to get it to you guys as fast as possible. I'd like to spend your money, not mine.
For sure.
I'm with you.
Rob, did you get anything? This past
I'll
week?
just run
With your
down real
birthday
quick.
and all?
I have not acquired anything yet, although I did kind of reserve some things. Muhammad in our group was reselling some games. I know he's cleaning out part of his collection, and so he had posted up about 60 or 70 games that he was looking to move. And I told him, hey, I can't afford to buy that many games from you, but I said, here's a list of about 10 games that I'm interested in. So he sent me some prices on them, and so I told him I'd pick up 4 of them. So the 4, I've never played any of these games, but they're all highly rated games and games that I've been looking at and wanting for a long time. But Manhattan Project, Energy Empire, really good game, 2016 release. Number 239 overall on the BGG ratings. Pandemic Iberia, which
we've been looking for that one.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to find, and it's been kind of expensive actually online. And it's a 2016 release, number 106 all time on the BGG ratings.
Not if you asked Z Garcia.
Oh yeah, I'm sure
it would be number 1.
Yeah, higher up on his list. So supposedly a really good Pandemic experience there, and Carlos and I are definitely both fans of the Pandemic line. Abyss, which is a game I've wanted to play for a long time. I've seen playthroughs. I know it's a game that I'm going to like, but he was selling Abyss with, I think, both of the expansions. 2014 release, number 352 all time on BGG, and then a cube pusher that one that I've wanted for a long time. Again, still never played it. Concordia, 2013 release.
See, that was in the miniature market. And I was like so close to pulling that trigger because none of us have it.
Yeah, number 18 all time on the BGG ratings, and so number 16.
I'm glad I didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah,
I'm glad I pulled it out of my cart.
There you go. So I'll pick that up for us, and we can play that. But that's a game I've been dying to play for years. So I gotta get that and get that played. So hopefully I'll be getting those. I gotta scrape together the
getting
cash,
those played and getting us discussing them.
Yeah, yes, getting us for discussion here the next month or so, hopefully. So
sweet.
Awesome.
How about you, Mike?
Yeah. The only thing I got this week was Cascadia finally delivered their. If you're listening to the podcast, you're not going to see it, but
pretty box.
The Kickstarter Cascadia, makers of one of Rob's favorite games, Calico.
Yeah,
and so I'm excited to get it to the table. Like I'm itching to get it before other games that have been sitting in my collection, just because of all the good reviews that I've read, and I really liked Calico personally. And
cool.
So I think the count was 74 games in Shrink.
Oh yeah,
unplayed. Mike,
they're not in Shrink. They're just on my shelf of shame.
Yeah, just unplayed.
And I'll be honest, I think some of those games I've gotten rid of. I don't know if we were talking about this during the call-in show. I called in. We're talking about how we collect or keep track of the games that we played. And I had mentioned that BG Stats has a kind of like a 10 by 10 or, different ways to set up achievements so that you can play more of your games that kind of help you get to your games. And I was playing all the games that I haven't played in 365 days. Like I have that much time to do it. And I happen to have, I think it showed me like 100 games that I have that I didn't play. But I'm not sure, because I do keep it. It does sync with your BGG collection.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it will affect the games that you've already started that whole 10 by 10 with. If you sell them, does it automatically take those out of the list?
Oh,
so I don't know if it's updating that particular achievement thing or not. But yes, I have 76 more games to go, and we're already in the middle of August.
Good luck.
End of August. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I gotta stop buying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would probably help.
It would help. Yeah.
Too many games, too little time.
Yep. That's what we always say.
Always the case.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, another great.
So that's my only acquisition this week.
Yeah.
Another great set of topics. Another great time hanging out with you guys. It doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah. Just talking games.
Yeah, talking games. That's what we do.
Cool. Playing games is sometimes better than that.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It's about 50-50. Play them and talk about them. Yeah.
We try.
Yep.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight. Well, we're going to put this up usually on Sundays, right?
Yep, trying to get this uploaded on Sunday. It's pretty easy. Pull it up on your podcast streaming software of your choice.
Yep.
But also the YouTube version goes up. We are the Beans and Dice podcast. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
Michael.
And we implore you to go out there and play more games and chat with us. Meet us on our call-in show Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Call in, talk to us about what you're playing. I wish you all the best. Stay safe, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for watching.
Bye, folks.
See ya.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.